We're skipping the cold opening this week to just give a general summary of what you're about to listen to. This was originally me and Mal's gushing about a fanfiction we both really love. Originally, we were just going to talk about things we liked and the writing style and choices the author made. Unfortunately, we were recording this at about 10-11 p.m. our time, so it quickly spiraled into 3 hours of two friends just chatting about one of our favorite fanfictions of all time. Sorry, not sorry. Mind the spoiler warning about 10-15 minutes in. Sing to me, Calliope, muse of epic poetry, of hells, and the burning city we rush to run through. Sing of the writing on the walls, and the saints whose memories we bleed for. Welcome to FanDive, my name is Chaos.
And my name is Malabonk, the most frequently reoccurring guest star.
and today we are talking about possibly the greatest fanfiction ever written, Redstone and Skulk.
That is a really big title, and I think you're not wrong. It is really good.
It's so, like, when I say it's like a greatest fanfiction, like, ever, what I mean is that if this was a physical book, I would go Terry Pratchett, Reaper Man, Redstone and Skulk, everything else. Like, I love this fanfiction.
That is a high bar to put. For clarity, this is in fact Redstone and Skulk by Silver Sky with an E 13 on AO3. That is what we're referring to. In case you want to go look at it for yourself.
It'll be linked everywhere. This is a Hels AU.
And I want to say it verbally as well. Yeah. Do you want to explain what the story is?
So we've done podcasts before vaguely of the concept of Hels AUs of Hermitcraft. Basically, we have the hermits, the content creators, and the characters they play, telling little stories, living in their little paradise world, and then one day, Vintage Beef invents a cloning machine. Things don't go well, and Helsknight decides to try it out. And the entity, the being that comes out of the cloning machine is not a clone. It is instead Helsknight, the evil version of Helsknight. And Helsknight and Helsknight, they have a rap battle, and they go at each other, and Hels is like, I come from a dimension known as Hells, where everyone lives in fiery cells. And he's the greatest champion. It's been a minute since I've listened to Diabolical, but it's a good song. And that was like, that's what we know about Hells until Azuma Boy did a video where evil Azuma goes into Hell's kitchen and you see a bunch of different like evil versions of people wandering around at like a bar getting a drink. That's what we know of Hells. And then everyone went, oh my god, everyone gets a Hells. It's in a whole AU now. It's beautiful.
The fandom took it and ran.
Oh, the fandom took it and
like
ran.
That origin is different from the origin of the Hells in this fic. Here, what they have is that if a negative trait of a hermit kind of festers for long enough, it creates a Hells variant, and these Hells variants are, I think the way it is phrased in the fic is just unloved by the universe, but not in the way of like hatred.
It's
just
not
in the way that it doesn't
unloved.
care.
It's uncared for, or it's like it just. It's, you know, like when you see an ant, you don't love it, you don't hate it. It's just an ant. That's what the Hells are to the universe. Like, the universe loves the hermits. Everything you know about the end poem, how much like you are loved, everything about you is perfect. You are made of stars because you are the universe, and the universe loves you, and the universe loves itself. All this beautiful, poetic joy, and then you get like an evil version of you, and the universe is just like, what?
Okay.
And like the Hells, in this AU, in this Redstone and Skulk world, the idea of respawn is inherently tied to the universe. So we get characters like the hermits who are functionally immortal. It's implied that they can die, but not on Hermitcraft. And that creates a really interesting dynamic because we're not following the immortals. Redstone and Skulk, while originally was about Tango and his Hells Tanguish, has almost moved exclusively to dealing with Hells and the people who live inside of it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. The story started as a one-shot and has spiraled into just this epic tale. Like, at this point, it is currently 339,000 words.
we were talking about this, like, what if we do print this out and get a physical copy? It would be almost 800 pages. And I'm like,
and it's not done.
It's not done. Here's the thing. We are recommending this fan fiction. We're doing a whole podcast about this fan fiction because it is so good. We don't know how it ends yet. And also, and we tried to get Andy to read it, and Andy was like, eh.
And he was like, oh, I don't know. And so I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it like 5 chapters. If it's not my jam, I just won't appear on the episode. And then next thing I knew, I was like 20 chapters in and incredibly invested.
And you were like live blogging it to me about how like amazing. I feel like we haven't like actually stopped and talked about this fan fiction. What is it about, right?
Tanguish. Well, I mean, we talked about Tanguish. So the way it starts is that Tango's, like, kind of isolation when building decked out creates his helmet, who is called Tanguish. And Tanguish represents isolation. And the Helsmiths and the Hermits are supposed to hate each other, but these two go, hey, what if we just didn't do that? And so they don't. Tanguish has to kind of hide himself on Hermitcraft. But then it very quickly shifts to the more Hells-centric... I'm trying to figure out how to determine between Hells the place and Helsknight the character.
Well, so the fanfiction really does go out of its way to say Helsknight does not like being called Hells. He's like, I got knighted for a reason. We have to call him Helsknight.
Yeah, so the fic shifts to Hells as a location, and how, like, Tanguish kind of survives out there because he's a thief. Hells is described as this, like, nether city in the middle of, like, a lake full of lava, and there isn't really a lot of materials. There's smuggling rings to get things from other worlds, but if you're just, like, a regular run-of-the-mill Hells citizen, you're not going to have much. Tanguish at least has the advantage of he knows his hermit, and he's able to travel between Reflection to get to Hermitcraft, but he's still, like, not a very high-ranking person out here. Would you like to continue with the more plot-sided story and how Helsknight is introduced?
Yes. So the way that the story is like originally structured, it's like Tango isolates himself. That's why Tanguish exists. Tango keeps putting himself away. The original decked out, Toon Towers decked out too. This technically the Redstone and Skulk world takes place in Hermitcraft season 9. So it is all about decked out too. Tanguish is literally the Skulk of level 4. Tango is working so hard and building this absolute masterpiece of a game, and he starts isolating himself to the point he gets really sick. And randomly, Tanguish is hanging out in Hells and is like, wow, why do I suddenly feel amazing and so great and like I could breathe for the first time in a million years? And he finds out it's because his hermit is dying. Tango, despite living in an immortal world, is not doing good. And so he goes on this whole thing where he panics and he's like, I need to find a Helsmith to a hermit who is friends with Tango so someone can go check up on Tango.
He decides to pick Helsknight,
of course,
who is the champion of the Colosseum of Hells. So, like, not an easy person to find.
And like the way he like goes about like trying to approach this Colosseum champion of Hell's Knight, and he's just like, I'm just gonna jump him. It's like, Tanguish, no, I know you're a thief.
I'm gonna jump from a rooftop and jump him, and when he kills me, I'm going to try again. Is the full thing he does.
Mm-hmm. And the way Helsknight and Tanguish have like a views on respawn, because again, respawn is not guaranteed for the Helsmiths. Tanguish, like, at the beginning of the story, really doesn't fear respawns too much. Like, he doesn't enjoy them, but it's like he feels so great because Tango is dying. It's like the idea of not coming back from a respawn isn't really brought up in his mind. But when we're introduced to Helsknight is scared of respawns. So the way that they react to this situation is insanely different.
Because pretty much from Helsknight's perspective, Tanguish is risking like just permanent loss of life and maybe even loss of his, like, the memory of him from the world, capital F forever, to get answers. And he doesn't do it once, he does it like 3 separate times.
He keeps
the first time doesn't work.
And eventually Helsknight caves, and Helsknight goes and like checks up on Tango himself, and he like, we don't actually see it on screen. We don't actually know what happens. But Tango starts getting help, and suddenly, like, Tanguish is, like, back to feeling, like, kind of mid to bad again. He's like, great, Tango's doing amazing.
And then from there, Tango and Tanguish make a deal where it's like, hey, if you take care of yourself I'll make friends. It's kind of how that deal goes. So Tanguish is like, oh god, I need to make friends now. And so he turns to Helsknight again. And Helsknight, who absolutely, like, he's not the guy for friends at this exact point in time, is like, hey, no. But they do end up being friends. They end up being.
But first,
very
Tanguish
good
is like, okay, I'll go make friends with the Helsmith of the Hermits, who Tango is friends with. There will be like a natural connection there. So there was an attempt with Zedaf's Hells, and here's where we get the first big emotional impact of the fanfiction. Now, from here on out, we are talking spoilers. I call from now on spoilers. So if you're interested in this fanfiction, please go read it. It is insanely well written. It is beautiful. And like, I swear, if there's ever a fanfiction, I say change the names and it will be its own novel. I swear, you would only have to change Helsknight's name and it will be its own novel. It is actually...
I mean... There's a couple more you'd have to change. I think Evil B Zuma might need a name change.
I love Evil B Zuma. We'll talk about that in a second. But actually, we'll talk about that right now because Tanguish starts like hanging around the Colosseum at this time, and they're like, "We gotta go find Evil Zedaf or whatever Zedaf's Hell's name is. We don't actually know." And Evil B Zuma's like, "Yeah, I'll give you directions to him. We haven't seen him in a while. Can you give this letter to him?" And they go to his place, and it's completely turned over. Everything is ransacked, destroyed. They first think that he's been robbed, and then they find a brick with his name written on it. Because in Redstone and Skulk, when someone feels the call of the universe, when they know that they're dying and they won't get a respawn, it's how they write their name down on a brick. They want their name to be put up on a wall of remembrance because their bodies aren't going to be found. Their bodies are going to disappear when they die. And eventually their memories will fade too. And it will just be their name on a wall. And so they find the name that Zedaf has written to put on the wall because he knew he would not make it back out of this respawn.
Mm-hmm. Which is tragic, by the way, because they do show it's not like there's just one big wall of all these names. These names are scattered all throughout the city. There are so many citizens of Hells who have, like, felt the call of the universe and not returned. It's tragic.
It's so sad. And then there's also the fact that this is briefly touched upon, that a Hellsmith can die, and then whatever caused them to exist in the first place would have not been resolved. They just felt the call of the universe, and they just died before their time. And then so a new Hellsmith is made, and it's their face, their personality, their name, but they don't have any of the memories. It's functionally a completely new person. So that person has a chance to die twice. But all their friends don't know this person anymore, and this person doesn't know any of their old friends because it's a new person.
There's that, and there are Hellsmiths who will die, and the people will just forget about them immediately. Like, this is spoilers for one of the spin-off stories that was not, like, officially canon to the series, but there was a spoiler. There was a side series where they explored what would happen if Tanguish had felt the call of the universe, and Helsknight forgot him.
I couldn't read that one. I'm going to be so real. That's the only side story I couldn't read. It was too sad. Because
here's the thing is, he was like with him and like keeping him company, and then he forgot him, found the brick, and just immediately felt like he had to repent for forgetting Tanguish for even a second. By the way, that's how dedicated they become in this story. They start as like the most reluctant of friends. By this point in the story, Helsknight and Tanguish are completely inseparable.
They
can call each other to their location at will.
We'll talk about the most recent chapters in a minute. We can't jump that far ahead. We have to move in progress.
I love my non-linear narratives. I'm sorry.
Yes, so, right. The two of them, Helsknight and Tanguish, bundle up and go to this slightly seedy side of the city. It's, Zombie Cleo has a Hells, who we've never actually met, but is...
I think it's just Human Cleo?
It might be Human Cleo, but it's like, no, all the members of Zombie Cleo's Hell's gang have a zombie bite mark tattoo. So I'm like, it's just Zombie Cleo. I think we've just made Zombie Cleo. But yeah, it's Zombie Cleo's side of Hell's, like her gang area, anyone there working under Zombie Cleo. And Zedaf lives over there. But there's another name of a person who lives over there called the Demon. This is Impulse's
Demon.
Hells. And you think of Impulse as this really nice, sweet guy, and yeah, sure, he might be a demon, because we've joked about, you know, Imp and Skiz, the angel and demon on your shoulder. We've never actually met Skiz's Hells. We don't know if he has one. But actually, well, because this is before he joined Hermitcraft, so I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, but also Martin has a Hells.
Yeah, Martin does have a Hells. Like, again, there's Whip has a Hells, Martin has a Hells. Like, there's Hells from like every MCYT person you will think of as lore. There's a chance they have a Hells in this AU. Impulse's Hells is the Demon, and we don't exactly know what caused the demon to exist, but it's kind of implied. It's like, does Impulse ever get tired of giving and giving and giving and always being that open, honest friend? What if you just go a little feral? What if you just go a little crazy?
There's a little indication of something like that happening when Tanguish is in Decked Out too with Tango, and Tango trying to hide him. I'm gonna mix up their names so much, I'm sorry. Tango trying to hide him, like, brushes off Impulse when he gives a gift. He's like, oh, thank you so much for bringing the materials, but like I'm working really hard right now. You have to go. And we can kind of see Impulse be just like a little bit bitter about that.
Mm-hmm.
Which can kind of show where the demon comes from, because the demon is not a giver. He's a smuggler.
Well, it's implied that he cannot like do the smuggling himself. He doesn't have access to any of the overworlds, but he does run the smuggling ring. So anything brought from overworlds into Hells is functionally brought through him.
I think more specifically how they had gotten to needing to go to the demon is that Helsknight was in an altercation where he lost his armor, and he needed a new set, and the demon was the person to go to for that. And they had the secondary goal of like, hey, maybe Tanguish, you can make a friend here.
So
that's why they went. You wanted to make friends with the Helsmits of the Hermits. So here's the Helsmit of a Hermit. His name is the Demon.
Mm-hmm.
I think
like,
they said briefly that his name was previously the Dragon.
Oh, that's so sick.
I love it. I love dragon and demonic characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're my jam. Okay, anyway, back to the demon. Do you wanna share how the demon altercation
this doesn't go well? Would be
an understatement.
Yes, well, they're like doing their thing, and Impulse is like, not Impulse, Helsknight is like, just try and be friends with Tanguish, please. I'll give you an IOU if you just like attempt. And so
also repair my armor.
And also repair my armor, please.
Repair the armor, be friends with Tanguish, or at least try, and IOU an IOU. Which is, Jesus Christ, never give an IOU to anyone, ever.
You see how the Hermits use an IOU. Now imagine how their Helsmits use an IOU. But he does it, right? And so the demon and Tanguish walk down the little hall of traps, and Tanguish is trying to be kind of socially not awkward and talk a little bit about traps, and like sort of say, yeah, I work a bit on some traps. I'm a bit of a trap tester and that kind of stuff. And by the time they reach the end of the hallway, yeah, the demon's just straight up gonna try and trap him and kill him. And
well, because what specifically happens is that the demon goes like, hey, like, this is such like a beautiful place. Why don't you look at all the stuff that I have gathered? And so Tanguish goes looking at all of these things, and one of the things he finds are a set of coins from, I believe, the Empire's SMP, one of which is missing, which is a coin that he stole at the start of the story to travel through the reflections to get to Tango. And the demon knows this. And so when Tanguish approaches the coin case, he's like, hey, you know, I spent a long time trying to get those coins. I spent a lot of money trying to get those coins. And one of them's been missing. And the demon does not fight with a sword. He fights with an axe. And so he decides
love axe fighters.
to try and get him.
Oh, it's the imagery and the way this fight is described, because immediately Tanguish is like, no, and Helsknight is
run.
Yeah, he runs, and Helsknight originally was
Helsknight
going to leave.
Something just happened.
Yeah, Helsknight was originally going to leave, but he's like, something's wrong, something's going to happen, and then immediately something does happen, and he's like, oh, thank God, I was right. And so they get into a fight.
My monkeys gene.
Yeah. Now, here's a very interesting point to bring up about the Redstone and Skulk story, is that so much of it does deal with the religions in Hells, because there's this idea of gods and saints is kind of used as a term for like non-divinity who has risen to divinity, if that checks out. And Helsknight specifically is a knight under the Church of the Saint of Blood and Steel. This is referenced as very similar to Blood for the Blood God. We kind of sort of see someone who's implied to be Technoblade's Hells working as well in a paladin position for that. But yeah, one of his tenets, one of the things that he has to swear by to become a knight, is that he cannot run away from a fight. That would be such you can't do that when you're a follower of a Saint of Blood and Steel. And so a fight happens and he's not doing great because he's not in armor.
He's honor bound not to run.
Yeah, he can't run. And he's trying to get Tanguish to leave because Tanguish isn't bound by this. You can't run, and Tanguish is not ready for this fight. Tanguish is a thief. And Helsknight gets hit in the face pretty badly.
With claws. Not just hit in the face. He gets clawed.
And then, like, this ends up with, like, a really cool scar that he has for the rest of the story, and it's beautiful.
There's something a little bit more interesting that happens in this scene that you've kind of skipped over a little bit, if I can go back.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So, like, Helsknight does draw his sword to fight the demon with his axe, and during this fight where he's pinned, he is, like, praying to the Saint of Blood and Steel for help. And I'm pretty sure he, like, sees a vision of someone standing there who
holding the
points
sword
their sword
out for
down
him.
Yeah, and it points the sword down to Tanguish. And, like, that is the moment where Helsknight, like, locks back into the fight. Like, it's very much, like, there was a bit of divinity involved in this fight.
I have a question, because when I read that as the saint with the blade part of the sword in the saint's hand and the handle extended out, as in, like, this is a weapon I'm giving to you. And I didn't read it as pointing at Tanguish. I read it as, like, take this sword and fight.
Like, take the offer. I'm not 100%. I read it more as like not like a I'm going to kill him, but more of like a metaphorical indication of like a shift. Because if you are praying to someone and that person gestures towards someone else, there's something happening.
There's something happening.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I realized we did skip over something very important to this fanfiction, and that is the metaphor of Skulk, and how someone at the very beginning of the fanfiction comments of, like, yeah, there's Skulk on the ceiling of Hells. It's kind of parasitic. It's like eating away at our beautiful glass ceiling. Don't, like, it's a parasite. That's the word we need to latch onto here, is a parasite. And Tanguish is made of Skulk. He is a Skulk being.
Because the Redstone and Skulk of the title refers to Tango, who is Redstone and Fire, and Tanguish, who is Skulk and Ice.
Yeah, and so a lot of this fan fiction focuses on this idea of, like, how do you not be a parasite? How do you latch on to people and not take something from them for your own greed? And in this moment where there's this big fight happening and Helsknight is honor bound and he can't leave, and it's like he's very mortally injured, he's going blind because something like scratched at his face and it's blood covering his eyes, and Tanguish is like trying to like figure out what's going on. He has this thing of like, your parasitic behavior, you have to leave. And it ends up with this very important moment where Helsknight leaves a fight without finishing it.
Yeah, he breaks his code as a knight to get Tanguish out of there safely.
And it's
good.
It's good.
Okay, I just have to say, this story is not a Chekhov's gun. This story is a Chekhov's armory. Every single thing that is said will come up again later. Like
the use of metaphors, the implications of the world, the way things are built up, like even just random side characters, they're going to be important.
Yeah, like as we mentioned, like he stole a coin in chapter 1 that was relevant all the way down the line, or not chapter 1, but he stole a coin pretty early on that was relevant to these later chapters, and this started as a one-shot. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they probably had some planning between like then and now, but. Like, to say
this started as a one-shot, like, the summary of this fan fiction still very much is written like, yeah, this is a one-shot, like, this is what happens in this one-shot. And, like, it doesn't talk about the next 60 chapters.
Because it does have the description has changed where it does include like some of the stuff that happens, but the little like thing says this started as a handful of one shots on Tumblr and is slowly snowballed into something bigger. If you notice a writing/tonal shift throughout the course of the fic, especially in the earlier chapters, this is why. That doesn't talk about any of this.
And keep in mind, we're on like chapter 20 now in our discussion. Again, there's 64 chapters as time of recording.
Yeah, Helsknight is not even mentioned in this summary. He's not here. We mentioned how integral he is to the story at this point.
And it's just, oh my god. Okay, so right, this fight with the demon, Helsknight has this huge gash. He's actively bleeding. There's blood in his eyes. His saint has just directed him. He's been praying to his saint, and his saint is pointing at someone else who isn't him. We later learn that at some point, Helsknight really wanted to become a paladin, and his saint ignored him. And so, like, there's stuff going on here. There's stuff going on here.
It wasn't even that it ignored him. It said that, like, he was a weapon for someone else, or that, like, it was something along the lines
I think the paladin said that as, like, something else. Like, I don't think the Saint of Blood and Steel has ever actually communicated with Helsknight outside of this one scene where he was, or I guess I don't know what the gender of Saint of Blood and Steel is, but where the saint is pointing at Tanguish.
I'm scrolling back to the screenshots, because also, we've not, like, taken notes before this. This is all coming off the dome. So if people have read this and they're noticing that we're describing things correctly, we're so sorry.
I've read this twice, and Mal has been live blogging to me throughout the entire reading experience. But then this is a little spoiler for something going up on my YouTube channel. I'm like, hey, while you're reading this, can you just like point out any like descriptions of the world? Because I kind of just want to build the whole Hell's dimension. You know, just cash.
Because it's so cool. There's so much world building in like the minor details. They talk about what blocks are available. There's a whole like section talking about the markets and how, oh yeah, no, we can't really have access to fabric in Hells. We do have some more hardy sheep that we're breeding that we're keeping here, but most of the fabric is more of this like burlap type of texture that like takes a lot of washes to really be soft and is really difficult to dye. Like there's so much, like, really minor details that make it feel so alive.
This world is built with such, like, imagery, and it doesn't feel heavy in the, like, let me describe the world. But, like, this is why I talk about it. It's like, I rank this up there with, like, Terry Pratchett as my favorite stuff, is because the way it incorporates world building and it describes this world. When we're entering into the demon's domain, his house, his like structure that he lives in, it's described in a way where you get this vivid imagery without it feeling bogged down and without it feeling weighty to the rest of the story. It doesn't change the pacing, but you know in your mind exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, there's never a section where like, oh my god, and now they're describing the churches. It's always like, oh my god, this is actually really cool. Like, it's never like, oh, you know, I just need to put in more description to put in more description. All the descriptions feel like really entrenched in the world, where if you remove the descriptions, the story doesn't feel the same. Because we get this like top-down view, because Tanguish, the main way that he got around before he knew Helsknight was by parkouring from rooftop to rooftop in Hells. So we get to see like the tops of these spires and like descriptions of the like ceiling of glass that Evil Azuma built as a gift to the city itself. We like see all of this stuff that like it really is a case of like there are some stories where it kind of feels like, oh, we just put the characters in a world to put them in here. This feels like you just took a whole extra world from the multiverse and just like put it down on a page. Every single area is just teeming with life.
The fact that this is a fan fiction and it takes place in a world never seen in its original media outside of that one single scene in some bar, it's insane. This feels like it has to come from somewhere else, but it doesn't. It's entirely original to this fan fiction.
It's like there's times I'm reading it where I'm like, man, I want to go look up like images of this. I want to go draw this. Then I realize, hey, there aren't any images. Well, there are images now because there's artists who are working on this, but like there's no images.
But then there's also it's like you're reading it, and then you go look up fan art of this, and you're like, but the fan fiction says otherwise. And so like you can't, it's just, you feel like you're not getting the full picture when you try and look at anything else, because this world exists solely in Redstone and Skulk.
Yeah, like I know that we've sent images to each other of what we thought the place looked like, and they were like they're very similar in vibe, but it's just like it's such like a describable describable isn't an adjective, but it's such a describable city that all of it like pretty much any description of it could fit like somewhere in the city. It's like that diverse while also still staying like homogenous.
All right. But yes, from this point of the story, big fight with the demon, Helsknight breaks his tenet and flees. The next huge chunk of the story really takes place at the Colosseum, the place where Helsknight functionally works. He is working a knight as one of the functionally like gladiators for this Colosseum. He's the champion. He is, and apparently in order to be champion, you cannot be beaten while you hold the title of champion, which is something I've always had like issue with in stories where it's like the champion's unbeatable. I'm like, that's not. And I personally like don't think that should be how it works, but like in this story, such an emphasis is put on Helsknight. Like they talk about scenes where he's going to die, like he's in a situation in the Colosseum fights where it's like he's not doing good, but he crawls on his hands and knees out of the stadium and stands up at the last second, and that's how he's counted as victory. Like it's shown that this is not an easy thing for him to keep hold of.
Yeah, it's that, and at the same time, it also talks about how Hells was created as kind of this, like, perfect knight that encapsulated everything that Wells wasn't. So it is built within his very being to be a good knight, to be a good swordsman. And there are still aspects he struggles with. He is far from a perfect character. But, like, that part of him is also why he's such a good Colosseum champion. Is because, like, Evil Bizuma was the champion before him, but Evil Bizuma wasn't made to be the foil of a literal knight.
Yeah, EB, which is what Evil Bizuma is called. EB actually has a very interesting position in the story because EB is no longer the champion of the Colosseum, but everyone kind of views the Colosseum as EB's place. And it's just like this very interesting dynamic of like, yes, Evil Bizuma is functionally what we would consider like the admin, as much of a ruler over Hells as Hells can have a ruler, with the one exception of the Colosseum. That is where EB is. The Colosseum is EB's.
Well, because it's Evil Azuma controls like Hells proper. The demon has his section, and Cleo has their section, and the Colosseum is EB's.
Yeah. It's just the way that the section of the Colosseum is described, because for anyone who's like never been to a Colosseum, which I'm going to assume is a lot of people, Colosseums,
I mean, I've been to one,
don't super have like places to hang out when you're not fighting, unless you're in like dingy underground or like directly under the seats kind of area. But the way that the Colosseum is described in this, it's like, no, there's the Colosseum was built to house the Colosseum fighters, to house the people here. Like it was built with intent of like, if you want to work here, you can stay here as well. Like you don't need to leave.
The thing is, you stay here by carving out your own cell, and when you are forgotten or when you are ended for the final time, that cell stays yours.
It's empty then. There's imagery used of like Tanguish walking down the hall and he sees empty rooms and he's like, there's this moment where it feels like, oh, that room has been empty for a while.
They never reuse rooms. You break out your own room yourself, and that is yours for as long as you live, and even after that.
Something I've always wondered about like the way Hells works as like a dimension is like the timeline given for Hells is meant to be like it's been around for a while, but there's a lot of stuff that's like the specific people living in it now have done so much to shape the current view of Hells that it feels like, no, of course it came about right at this moment. And that feels so much like a part of history. It's like, yeah, obviously history has been going on for a while, but right at this moment, like it makes everything clearly.
It's also that contrast between like Hellsmiths who are forgotten by the universe and then recreated without the memories but with the personality and the name. It is, hey, there are years and years and years of history. We have these libraries that span like entire buildings, and we have this like Colosseum, which is like older than a lot of Hells, but it's also like, hey, a lot of the people who are fundamental to this world at this moment are alive right now. The person who built the ceiling is alive right now. The people who own the Colosseum, who are running the smuggling rings, who are controlling that whole side of town, they're all alive and active right at this very instant. So it's the like ancient history as well as just the modern history that is coming to fruition all at once.
Okay, but we gotta actually focus in on the next part of the story, which is
the plot.
The plot. Because we're getting into the time at the Colosseum. This is really when the fan fiction started being its own epic thing. And so we have this bracket that's announced. There's brackets held at the Colosseum. That's how they get people invested. And they tell little stories. And it's like, yeah, it's a story about a smuggling job that went wrong. Who wrote this? What's going on? Turns out the knights and the people who are fighting at the Colosseum, they get a lot of sponsors. And the people who sponsor the Colosseum and who pay for a lot of things, they get to have a few say in a few things. So if there's a story going on and the final fight needs to be with the champion who's in not well-suited armor with a pretty bad sword fighting against someone with an axe, well,
fighting against someone with an axe and someone with throwing knives simultaneously.
Yes.
Just to really rub it in.
We haven't seen the conclusion of this fight yet. It has not been published at time of recording.
The first rounds of the fight have not been published.
Yeah.
We've just been building up to the fight.
There's so much tension going on with this thing, but this is where we really start getting introduced to the faction of the Colosseum, and it's where we get to see the Red King and his hand Martin, who Martin's Hels refused to give himself a name, so everyone just calls him Martin.
They call him Martin or the Hand.
Yeah,
the other one that we get. I do have his little monologue saved on my phone. If you want me to go over his.
Read it.
Okay, I'm not going to read his entire monologue, but pretty much what is happening in this scene is that Helsknight is like kind of a little bit upset about the Colosseum fight, but Tanguish is distraught and is like, "Hey, you don't know how many respawns you have left. Like, this is not okay." And Helsknight ends up leaving the room, and Martin pulls Tanguish aside and is like, "Hey, man, Helsknight is really important, and everyone is listening when someone is talking about him. You just aired that out in front of the entire Colosseum, and there's something that I have to tell you." It starts with a little bit of silliness of being like, "Hey, do you know what a shark is? Because we are in Minecraft, and not everybody knows what a shark is." They start with the sharks, and basically Martin explains, "Hey, all these Colosseum fighters, they are sharks. There are very few things that can kill a shark, except for a bigger shark. There are also small things, little fish, that the shark doesn't know is a threat until it's too late. A parasite." This is Martin's dialogue. "We feed on people, not just little fish like you and me, everyone does. I mean, for goodness sake, even if we weren't from Hells, literally eating at someone else's soul, we would still do it. Every morning when we wake up and commit to being alive, we commit to taking up space. When we take up space, we take bites out of each other. I'm taking bites out of you right now. I watch you do something that threatens me, and I'm stopping it. In my big stupid metaphor about sharks and parasites, there is one more fish swimming around. It's called a remora. Remora are these amazing little fish that swim with sharks, protected by the big shadows of these big, hungry, terrifying things. No shark would dare hurt one. Do you know why? They eat parasites." There's a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
but
like the way that Tanguish has been talking about himself up until this point of the fan fiction, Tanguish is like, "I am a parasite. How do I stop being a parasite?"
Because, like, literally, as it says in the quote, they are feeding on the soul of a hermit or of a lifer. In the case of Martin, what he takes it as is like, "Hey, I need to pick my battles. I can choose to harm the people around me, or I can choose to help them." And so he starts categorizing his behavior as parasite behavior and remora behavior. I do have Tanguish's explanation because he shortens it down. If you'd like me to read that little snippet.
Yee.
So he explains this to Helsknight in a conversation because he does meet Helsknight, but the way he says it is, "Martin said there are these things in the sea called remoras. They follow around other fish, eating the parasites off of them. They can't choose to stop eating. Anything that takes up space must devour. We have to make space for ourselves or be eaten alive. But you can choose what you eat, if you're careful, if you pay attention, if you don't let fear run you into impulsiveness." And that is what Tanguish is following.
It becomes such an important thing for the second half, or I guess the current half of the fan fiction.
the current section.
We don't know how long it goes.
It is such an integral metaphor that, like, I'm currently on hold for it, but like, in 6 months, if I'm still thinking about this fic, I'm going to get a tattoo based on this metaphor because I really, really like it.
I'm
and what it
telling you, we
represents in
have
this
to wait
story.
for this fan fiction to be over before you can get a tattoo of it.
I know. I'm waiting, but I'm also waiting 6 months. If it's not over in 6 months, then I will continue waiting. But when it is over, or when it has been 6 months, whichever one comes first, I will likely get a tattoo of the head pattern of a remora because I think that like the concept of like that whole metaphor is something really interesting and really narratively cool. Anyway, back to the plot.
Yes, anyway, so Tanguish ends up starting to take very basic self-defense lessons from the members of the Colosseum, mostly Martin, and occasionally Helsknight steps in, and they're trying to teach him, and he learns to be a little bit more than just a thief running around on rooftops. He learns to start being aware of himself and being aware of like what it means to be around people with weaponry. And there's this very important move that comes up where Martin is trying to explain, like, right, was it Hels? I think it was Martin.
I think it was Hels.
It was Hels? Okay. It's like when
so.
you're in a situation and you see an opening, when you have a knife or a bladed weapon, there's a specific spot you kind of have to aim for that people tend to leave open. This is whenever you're reading anime, it's like his guard is perfectly complete. There's no holes in his. It is this idea of like you're covering these weak spots, and one of those weak spots is right underneath your ribs. Because if you get hit there, the blades are going to go up and into your organs, most likely your lungs. So that's not a good place to be hit. And they specifically teach Tanguish this move of how to do it because they're like, you're not a fighter. You need this to be over quickly. See the openings, see the weakness.
Yeah, it's very much they want to train him to a level where he doesn't think about it, and it's just immediate instinct. He's being attacked. Go for the part that'll leave him alive.
And this will be brought up later, but eventually Tanguish starts hanging out a little bit more with Tango again, just because Helsknight is preparing for the Colosseum fight and Tango is still working on Decked Out, and he keeps running into Helsknight. And Helsknight, who really has only been exposed to Helsknight and they don't get along, immediately assumes Tanguish is there to harm Tango. and that doesn't end well.
We gotta go grab a Chekhov's gun from the shelf because we do need to talk about something that we skipped over earlier. When Helsknight is talking about his like inability to be what he thinks is a good knight, one thing he mentions is that he can't quite get the knight voice down, or that like voice of like reassuring that everything is supposed to be okay.
Yeah.
Like Tanguish goes, "Hey, you can try it on me. I want to know what it sounds like." And Tanguish describes it as feeling like molten brass. Like it's something warm and comforting and something that he trusts. But Hels doesn't see it as perfect because Helsknight has one.
Well,
and Helsknight uses his on Tanguish, and Helsknight's knight voice is described as burning gold and being painful and impossible to not listen to. And Wells does not use it for niceties.
Yeah. Helsknight, the way his voice functions, the way it's described, is that he has to believe his words are ultimate truth. You don't technically need to be a knight to need to follow divinity to use it, but it's almost impossible not to, because it requires a level of truth and devotion and utter belief in your idea of reality in order for this to work. And Helsknight, as we've mentioned, is struggling with his current divinity and really can only use his for comfort and not this is my truth, I'm shaping my world around it. And so Helsknight starts using it to control Tanguish. And in one of this Chekhov guns moments, he forces Tanguish to kneel so he can remove him from Hermitcraft.
Forcefully,
and finish the sentence.
Kick him to the curb in a way that would involve a respawn.
Yes.
What happens in that particular scene where he kneels is when Tanguish had first encountered the night voice, he was like terrified of it. Then he went back to Hels, and Helsknight was trying to use the comforting voice to help him during the knife training.
Yeah.
And Tanguish was like, "Hey, stop talking like that." He finally, after a while, he ended up explaining, why he felt that way, and Helsknight sat down in front of him and repeated a whole bunch of, "You're okay, you can break out of the voice," a whole bunch of affirmations in his knightly voice, so that he could remember them when Helsknight used the voice on him.
When does the stabbing scene happen? Is that the first time?
The stabbing happens, I think that's the second time, because I know stabbing happens.
At some point.
When Tanguish is told to kneel, he has that instinct that he's been trained for, and he goes for Helsknight's ankles with his
I
knife.
was talking about a different stab scene, but yes, continue.
No. He goes for his ankles with his knife to just get out of the thing. He's not aiming to wound, he's just aiming to get out of there. We didn't mention where he got the knife, by the way. He got the knife from Evil Bizuma.
Yeah, he gave a knife to
And at
EB.
at one point, he traded his knife with Helsknight.
He gave a knife to EB, and EB is very much a person of hospitality and equal give and equal take. So EB gives a knife back to Tanguish, but like a nice knife, like one specifically that like would work for Tanguish. And it's
Yeah, because like Tanguish gave a knife because Helsknight went, "Hey, look, it's a blue knife. EB likes knives and he likes blue. Here you go. Give him this blue knife as a sign of being nice." Yeah, there's as I said, Chekhov's armory. There's so many things that are happening that like if you want to tell the story, you need to like have everything written down, or you're just gonna end up going back to the shelf to grab something you forgot to mention.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, at one point, Tanguish breaks away from the Helsknight voice by stabbing Helsknight in the ankle, but there's something else that happens, another stabbing scene, where Helsknight is using this voice, and Tanguish gets away and gets back into Hells, and at this point, he's more or less living with Helsknights, because before Tanguish was before Tanguish was homeless, and then he makes friends with Helsknight and just kind of never leaves.
I mean, to be fair, he's allowed in there. It's not like he's like Harvard. No, they like go buy muffins in the morning together. They're walking to the college.
They're totally roommates at this point in the story. But his respawn point is functionally Helsknight's couch, and so he enters back into Hells. He tumbles off of Helsknight's couch, and Helsknight is immediately like, "What's going on? How do I comfort you? Why are you panicking? What, is something wrong? Are you injured?" And Tanguish, having just come from a situation where a voice is controlling him, and now hearing a voice with the face that looks like the person who was just controlling him, has a knife in his hand and goes for the underside of the ribs.
I kind of interpreted that a little differently when I was reading it, and I just maybe because I read weird. Kind of like the way that like my brain interpreted it was like he's like standing behind the couch. Helsknight comes forward like physically to like comfort him, and like in that like stumble forward, the instinct kicks in and stabby.
Yeah, at some point, Helsknight moves when he definitely should not, and it's this moment where Tanguish like really freaks out because he realizes even though Helsknight appears so impossibly like you could never touch that, Tanguish could do that. Tanguish could cause a frankly pretty mortal injury to someone who should be untouchable.
Yeah, because while Helsknight is actively being stabbed, he's like, "Hey, Tanguish, I know you're freaking out. Don't move."
Yeah, and like he talks like with the knife in him, he talks Tanguish down from a panic attack, and then it's like, "And we're now going to do wounds care. You're not going to take the knife out. I need you to go get a t-shirt. Just go."
Yeah, the thing about the scene that got me most there is that right at the end of the scene, Helsknight goes, "Hey, I need you to do one thing for me. I need you to clean this knife." And Tanguish is freaking out because he does not want to touch the knife. And he goes, "Do you know what will happen if you won't clean this knife?" Tanguish looks at him and Helsknight goes, "It'll rust. I need to go clean the floors. You go clean the knife." It's so gentle. It's so good. Tanguish just threw up right after that because he's horrified at what he's done. But also, it's so good.
It's so, and like this is
Tanguish and Helsknight friendship. Just it gets me. It's gotten me. I am on the floor. It's even at this point, it's so good, and it only gets better from here.
And this is the I view this as like the turning point of their friendship, and it's like it starts off as like they're friends by circumstances, and they're growing close to each other, and they're staying together now, and they're hanging out, and people are assuming that like, "Oh, is this your squire? You're always together, and he's doing errands for you and stuff." And then at this moment, where it's like, and now we're inseparable. You just stabbed me. We have to be best friends.
We're blood bonded now. That's how it works.
We're bonded now. We got to bring up the fact that the author of this fan fiction is very active on Tumblr. This was originally on Tumblr, but has like reposted this thing and very much has tied it to the fan fiction of like looking at a dynamic and a relationship that is platonic, but it goes so beyond any romantic relationship that could ever like it is friendship taken to the extreme of soulmates without ever the conversation of romance being brought into question.
Like the way that I've kind of described it very briefly to people, because I have talked to anyone's ear about this who's willing to listen, is if you've ever read the Tumblr short story about the god of Arepo. So this farmer builds a temple just to whatever god will show up, and just starts leaving offerings, and the god is like, hey, I am the god of a million tiny things. I am the crisp bite of an apple. I am the wind in fall. I cannot save you from flood or famine. I cannot do anything. And the farmer is just like, you know what? I'll still do it anyway. Like, I'll still help you anyway. Like, the famine comes, the storm comes, this god can't do anything, but the farmer is still trying his best. The god reveals his name, I believe that's the god who reveals his name as Arepo. And then there's a second story that is added on of a child with a mysterious god mark on their head in a world where everybody has one, but they can't find what god they belong to. So they travel the world with a bracelet their friend has given them that they promise to give to their god when they find it. And they figure out that it is this tiny temple, like up on top of this hill where this farm used to be. And that there is a god and a spirit at this temple. And that one is the god of a million tiny things, and the other is a spirit who stayed out of undying loyalty and friendship, who the god of Arepo. And that this child is who has brought a friendship bracelet all the way here for their own loyalty is the perfect person for this religion. That is what this story like has emotionally for me. As far I butchered the story of Arepo so bad, but that is like that vibe is what this story is to me.
Okay, but we
Anyway.
need to do the next part of the next. Actually, I have a question. I don't remember when this started being brought up, because when I read fan fiction on my phone, for some reason colored text doesn't appear, but apparently according to you,
colored text
there's colored text throughout. And when does that start happening?
Okay.
Is that right around now?
Okay, hang on. No. Okay, hang on. All right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit entire work on AO3 on my phone, and we're gonna scroll until I find blue text. I'm pretty sure it starts with the demon. I'm pretty sure that's as far back as it starts. Let me double check. Hang on.
Fancy text is added to the fanfiction when things start happening around Tanguish. And I'm not
It's happening when it's associated with divinity in general.
Yeah. But I'm not going to go too into detail, because I feel like we should save that until when we finish wrapping up the narrative, which, we've only been recording for an hour. It'll be fine.
Well, it's only
it's a 30-minute podcast, as you do.
Yeah, listen, it's just because it's such a good fic, we have to keep talking about it legally. I have not shut up about this fic. I'm pretty sure there are people who know the entire fic just from me being like, hey, you're in the area, I'm doing something in Minecraft, you're going to listen to me.
We have voice chat on our server, and if you're in the region of a voice chat, you're going to hear about this fanfiction.
Even if you're not in the region of the voice chat, I will pull you into a Discord call. I will talk your ear off about it.
It is so good. But yeah, divinity starts playing a huge part into the story. Again, a conversation around Helsknight and the Saint of Blood and Steel. But we also start hearing conversation about the first church of Hells, which is the Church of Memory. Because again, when someone dies, when a Hellsmith dies, their body is gone, and sometimes they'll have loved ones remember them, but not always. And so the Church of Memory is founded for people to go give their names or give their loved ones' names to the Wall of Memory. And if they so choose they ask a member of the first church to please remember my name and remember this fact about me. My name, I forget which person's name it was exactly in the fan fiction, but it's like this person's name, and she wanted to be remembered for her lovely flowers. That was the thing, like, she asked the church to remember her for, because when she dies, and she inevitably did, she disappeared. Her flowers stopped being cared for. People forgot about her, but her name was written down, and the church has this whole thing of like their divinity was an idea first, a concept first, before it rose to divinity. This is the god of memory, and is featured and is viewed as someone crying ink with scrolls of names flittering around this figure. Like the idea of memory is such a huge part of the story, and we slowly start seeing that be brought into, and it starts being like, this is what divinity should look like. Remember this. It will be important later.
Okay, so the first place the text appears, there's red text when the saint does place the tip of the sword in their hand, holding it out for someone to take. You were right, I didn't read. That was the do something, isn't death supposed to be a minor inconvenience?
Mm-hmm.
So the saint is the first thing in red text. I'm looking for the blue text.
Yes.
You continue talking as I find it.
I'll skip ahead. We're going to talk a little bit of how the god of memory works, because this is how we first get introduced to the concept of paladins. There is a member of the first church who is a paladin, which is someone specifically chosen by the god to be their will in the world. And this is not a good thing, because the will of the gods don't understand human limits. And one of the first times that this paladin was being risen to power, the god of memory ended up really destroying this paladin's body, and now this paladin cannot walk without aids anymore because of the interaction with this god. And there's this moment where the paladin says, like, and the divinity could not understand why I was sad, why I was so close to losing my faith, because the divinity did this to this paladin. And the divinity couldn't understand that there was a limit to human bodies. The way that being a paladin is, like, it's such a high honor, it's the highest power, your god has chosen you. That's not a good thing.
Different characters describe the divinity of paladins differently. Some describe it as like complete and utter faith and trust, and others describe it as complete and utter submission and control.
Because the Saint of Blood and Steel has a paladin, and the way it talked about how this person had literally blood leaking from the pores of their skin, like, disgusting, first of all. How do you clean that? But second of all, it's like
tissues.
it's just the way of how they talk about. It's like there's a certain level of separation that again becomes important later.
Chekhov's armory. What can we say?
Chekhov's armory.
I'm adding that to my lexicon. That's my new go-to phrase is Chekhov's armory. It's Chekhov's overkill. It's like Evil Bizuma has like a wall of knives that he has in his cell. That is what the author is pulling from.
Yeah. You know, while you search, I am gonna bring up something really cool I like about Evil Bizuma. And that is the fact that Evil Bizuma is not like a flesh and blood character. Evil Bizuma is very much an android. When Evil Bizuma fights, there's a moment where they have to be like, you have to be careful when fighting Evil Bizuma, because that does not always get fixed upon respawn. You break something, yeah, he has little buzzers flying around to try and repair his body, but like, if he dies and his body is not fixed before he dies, things get messed up real bad.
Mm-hmm. And it's also the fact that, like, he, as a Coliseum fighter, didn't tire. He did not have, like, exhaustion or sweat. He was a machine. He was a machine that was maintained by mechanical bees, sure, but he was a machine in the most literal sense of a fighting machine.
And yet somehow Helsknight beat him. Did you find the blue text yet?
I'm looking. I'm in the section of the knife. The stabby. And the thing is, the stabby is, first of all, the first dialogue in here is don't panic, don't move, you might kill me, are you hurt? Like that is the string of text that comes through.
It's
because the reason he asks is because Tanguish had blood on his hand from getting wells with the knife. So it's like, hey, are you hurt? It's like, you have a knife in you. There's bigger problems.
Yeah,
but that's where I am in the story, which is around chapter 27. I still haven't found the blue text. Oh, there's more. There is more red text. There's red text as far as Helsknight's hands itching for his sword. He had to do something. It wasn't fair. There's actually a whole paragraph of red text here, which is implied to be like kind of the will of the Saint of Blood and Steel. Like when Tanguish is stopping him, there's this paragraph of like red text in brackets, where like Hels is like, "Hey, I could like shove Tanguish back against the wall. He's small, he's fragile. I can kill him. I can make him run. I can make him scared of me, so I can go get revenge." But he it says that his anger snaps like a bone breaking. Helsknight still has connection to the Saint of Blood and Steel, but he's actively fighting against it.
It's so good.
And one of the final section of this is a perfect knight only has to be obedient to his tenets, as well as what good is a sword in the hands of someone who refuses to wield it.
Yeah.
That's a bit of, you know, he's kind of, because he isn't cruel, and the Saint of Blood and Steel isn't cruel either. Like one of the tenets is no cruel, but also he is like tamping down his sense of justice, like at Tanguish's request.
It's you there. This is again the point in the story where Helsknight shifts from being a loyal knight to the Saint in Blood and Steel to being a knight who is friends with Tanguish. And again,
it's not even that. He's being a knight who's loyal to Tanguish. That's what he's doing.
We get Chekhov's armory. That's going to be a useful tool for later. We're going to shift into the scene where Tanguish is hanging out with Tango, and Helsknight appears. And Tango really wants to get Helsknight to at least tolerate Tanguish, because Tanguish does hang out on Hermitcraft a lot, does actively help Tango build Decked Out too. And so he's like, I need materials. You've never gone mining before. Let's all go on a mining trip.
Okay, there's a little more to that. Tanguish, when in the Saint of Memory place, finds a book that has techniques on how to fight an axe versus sword fight. He shows the book to Helsknight. Helsknight looks at the book and says, "Hey, this former champion wrote it." And so Tanguish goes to Martin and is like, "Hey, Martin, I need to find a way to contact this champion. How do I do it?" And Martin goes like, "Hey, you can contact that champion. They like jewelry. You can give them a gift, but they're currently a little busy. But you need to get that gift yourself." And Tanguish is like, "Okay, I don't want to be a parasite. I want to ask Helsknight for money to get a gift to come out. So I got to go get the diamonds myself to get a necklace." And then that's when he goes Tango and goes, "Hey, I need diamonds. You said I could ask for anything." And then Tango goes, "Hey, I want you guys to get along. You and Helsknight and I should go hunting." Chekhov's armory. There's so many things that come before and after every single scene that we're not describing. All of this flows really, really.
Yes. So, oh my god, we can't skip past this. It's not yet brought up in the fan fiction, but we can't skip past this. The person who this old champion is currently looking after is False's Hels. And what's really interesting is that False's Hels is described like on her way out. The False's Hels is actively dying. But Helsknight describes False as being in the early stages of having a Hels. So they're both in the decline together, which is not something that should happen, because as we've seen, like with Tanguish and Tango, as one goes down, the other goes up. It's supposed to be a balance.
Also, as I'm scrolling through this, we completely forgot to mention the whole gargoyle section.
Okay.
Because Tanguish is right when he's learning Remora behavior. Hey, I'm gonna go climb up the spire without Helsknight, and I'm just gonna trust that he's gonna be down there. But the second he gets to the top of the tower, Fwip's Hels is like, "Hey, gargoyle in the tower. You haven't been here for a while. We thought you were gone. We were gonna make a gargoyle statue to remember you."
That's where he gets the book, right?
That's where he gets the title. That's where he gets the book.
Okay,
there's so many Chekhov's.
It's important because Fwip's Hels, known as Flipside, is a squire or someone like very early on in the ranking of the first church. We're at the Church of Memory right now, and so the Church of Memory is the tallest building outside of like Evil X's tower. Like not much is taller than the first church, and Tanguish loves climbing tall things. And so he's gotten this nickname from the people who are in this church looking out over the city of, there's the gargoyle, there's the person who climbs the building. So they don't know Tanguish. They've never talked to this guy, but he's always around and always on buildings, and everyone's like, that's the gargoyle.
Okay, sorry, I'm still scrolling through. We did also skip the whole point where like Tanguish and like fought to help save Martin's life. We did skip that.
There's no way that happens before this.
That's in chapter 37.
What? Okay, anyways, there's a scene where
Since you read it twice, it's all jumbled.
There's a scene where Martin gets jumped by a whole bunch of thieves. They will be relevant later. And Tanguish sees that and he's like, that's my Martin, and very much makes it so they can get away, and they do unalive a thief, but he respawns. And it's very important that this happens. And Martin, this is his first taste of like, oh, you can fight, but in a situation that I am not equipped for. Because Martin struggles on rooftops.
Yeah, I think the funny part about this scene is just like right after it's like why did you say? Tanguish is like, it's Remora behavior, and Martin's like, that is the quickest bit of karma I have ever received.
Remora behavior, yeah.
I'm still looking for the blue text, by the way. I found it.
Oh, you found it?
It is when Wells is using his night voice on Tanguish. It's when like Tango is like, "Hey, Helsknight, you need to chill with Tanguish and maybe like just try to talk to Helsknight. Like just try." And that is when Helsknight is commanding Tanguish, and Helsknight like feels like a pull in his chest as if something is happening. And we see this blue text that says, "Protect me." And I believe it's "Protect me" and then "Save me." And that is the moment when Helsknight is pulled into Hermitcraft by the will of Tanguish. No, because that is the first area. It's the help me save me chapter, and then I believe the next mention of the blue text is the one that I sent you, of him just being like, "Hey, stop running away from me," and that working.
Okay, so we're getting hints that Tanguish can now plead to Helsknight, say I need help, and bring Helsknight into a situation wherever Tanguish is, even if he's in like functionally a different dimension. Now, have we covered enough to get to the mining scene?
No, we have not covered enough, because we also forgot the part where Helsknight went blind briefly.
Oh, that's right, because
that was right after this.
Yeah, because when Tanguish summoned Helsknight starts...
Helsknight got hurt defending him.
Well, there's
got hurt
more
defending
to
him.
that.
They got back to...
There's more to that. Is that where
Helsknight... always more.
Is that where Helsknight starts crying blue fire?
That is there, but I'm talking... So what happens is he pulls Helsknight into Hermitcraft. Helsknight defends him. They find their way back. When they find their way back, when Helsknight takes off his armor, is when all the wounds start to hit at once. And he starts to have, like, all this stuff happen. And you have, like, EBB here and be like, hey, that's not what that looks like when the universe takes you. The universe isn't taking you. Something else is happening. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, so I'm not certain if Helsknight temporarily losing his vision comes from those delayed injuries or from the fact he was crying blue fire. Now, as we previously mentioned, the god of memory is depicted as someone who is crying ink, and the paladin cries ink when performing miracles through divinity. And so, like, crying things is kind of a big deal in this fan fiction. And the fact that he's actively crying blue fire...
Anything else is not good.
You know, that's not good. Yeah. So, like, in my mind, it was that connection of, like, well, we know that the god of memory, the actions of divinity actively harm the Hellsmith's bodies. Is the act of crying blue fire actively, like, is that what caused the temporary blindness? Or is it you've been hit in the head and now you're spotty vision?
The next mention of the blue text is all the way in chapter 47, which is the stop running away from me, where we have Tanguish be able to, like, he literally says, stop running away from me, and Helsknight he's unable to move any further away.
Yeah, they're having a bit of an argument in that scene, I think, right?
Yeah. What's happening in that scene is, it's when all the people who are, like, running the Coliseum are like, hey, these things are trying to... We need to get these, like, art pieces, we need to get all this stuff set up, and... There was one of the artists goes, hey, I have a pose idea. I want Helsknight to look really strong and imposing, and I want Tanguish to kneel before him in this way that makes it feel like Tanguish is, like, going to be killed. And Helsknight is so uncomfortable with this that he just leaves, pretty much.
He just leaves. And what's interesting is, like, Tanguish was not originally in that interaction. He goes to meet up with Helsknight while he's there, and while he's there, the artist is like, your shoulders, I can paint that real well.
Yeah, because pretty much what Helsknight says is, like, hey, we're not doing this, scrap it, like, we're doing something else. Because I'm scrolling through the fic, I can pull up quotes more easily, but, like, the reason that he didn't like it is, what he says is, I'm a knight. Before the Colosseum, before the champion, I'm a knight. And as a knight, I will not force someone to kneel to me. I am no god, saint, or king. I do not hold that kind of power. I don't want that kind of power. Which is very contrary to where Wells, earlier in the series, was like, hey, Tanguish, you're a Hellsmith and you're threatening the people I care about. Kneel, and I'm going to kill you. Because there is a point where Wells does make Tanguish beg for his life.
Oh.
And then still doesn't give it to him.
We're gonna bring that up later.
No, that's not later!
No, it is. No, I mean, like, yes, that had happened at that point, but it will check off armory payoff later.
Okay. I needed to bring up the parallel between Wells Knight and Hell. That was the Chekhov I was gunning. Every single Chekhov's gun is secretly, like, 2 other guns in disguise. This is the moment where Tanguish is like, hey, I've done something to you. What is going on? Like, what have I done to you? So we have that dramatic moment, because the series does have a very big theme of, like, corruption isn't the right word, because that is a negative connotation, but, like, irrevocably changing the people around.
Skulkifying.
Okay. This is the one where they go on a walk together.
But isn't that the stabbing scene?
That is there's multiple stabbing scenes. There's the ankle one,
Yeah.
which was a lot earlier. This one is okay. There's the ankle one. There's the fight that Hels comes to protect him. This one is the one where he tries to pin him to the tree by the cloak and catches his shoulder instead.
Oh, this is the one that we
like,
need
hey,
to check off our armory for later.
Wells is like, hey, manipulation is part of your nature as a Helsman. I don't trust you. And the thing that like got me in this scene is Tanguish instinctually like kind of grabs Wells Knight's like tabard to kind of like stop him, but like all he says is like, hey, just don't aim for my neck. I can't stand the smell of blood. It's a stupid thing to ask for, but I'm at your mercy. That's owie.
At this point, it is worth bringing up that Tanguish hates the smell of blood, but Helsknight has a huge weakness to hand wounds. Helsknight as a knight cannot like physically handle the idea of losing your ability to hold a sword, like the idea of your tendons being hurt, the idea of your hand being curled in a way that affects your grip. Like that is his ultimate weakness. He can't even like stand the thought of it.
This is kind of sort of where we have some of the areas where Tanguish starts referring to like mentally referring to Helsknight as like his, and then being like, hey, why did I think that? And then like the parentheses being like, and something in his chest resonates with like truth, and it's like, okay, well, all right. I guess you're very there. But there is also, if I'm going to talk about the heart resonating thing, I want to say, in my opinion, the Chekhoviest of all Chekhov's guns is the fact that Tanguish was very briefly fascinated with a warden heart in one of the very first chapters. Like, that is the Chekhoviest of the guns, in my opinion.
Like, again, keep in mind, he is Skulk. He is helping builds decked out too.
Yes. Okay, so where we are in the thing. All right, because also the mining scene is so far further forward that like Wells Knight at that point is like nearly friends, or like at least on speaking terms with him. Because where we're at now is Tanguish in Wells Knight's house finding the book on paladins and divinity, and Wells Knight sharing his opinion of paladins and like kind of how that feels and how it's just bad. So this is the section where like in his like Wells Knight's true voice, he's like, I have been nothing but cruel to you since we met. I have attacked you, almost killed you many times. Do I deserve it? Like, do you want to kill me?
Like, right, because he's like actively like pinning Tanguish to a tree, antagonizing him, and then Tanguish does like one thing to stand up for himself, and Wells Knight's like, are you gonna kill me or not?
Well, because there's a whole... He stands up for himself, and then there's that little bit, and then he goes to the house, he reads the book on the paladins, he gets the opinion on the paladins. On the way back, they have the more full conversation.
I feel like there's so much to unpack about Wells Knight's character in this fanfiction, and for the record, like, as a
we need like one episode per 10 chapters.
I know. As a huge Wells Knight fan, the way Wells is shown in this fanfiction, I'm a little like, but also I'm like, this is such a fascinating character. Like, if we just change this name, this would be like my absolute screaming character. I would want to dissect this so much.
If this was your first experience with Wells Knight, you wouldn't like Wells Knight as a content creator, and that's just because it's written from Helsknight's perspective and Tanguish's perspective.
You're actively being told. If
you see the Hermit, you're being told he's a bad guy. He's not. Go watch him. He's good. We promise.
He's such a good...
Oh, okay. So now we're approaching it. Now we're at the gloves at 51.
Oh, God.
You were bringing up the mines in 37. The gloves were added in 51. You were 20 chapters ahead, my friend.
Time and a
20
solution that helps things make sense. Right.
So Tanguish has a nervous tick, like a nervous thing he does, where he will pick at the skin on his knuckles. He has scars, and just generally, his knuckles do not look great because he does this so often. And he's tried to have gloves on before, but he tends to take them off. So Helsknight's like, hey, I've bought you Hoglin leather gloves that are like really high quality. They're actually... He's bought Tanguish quite a few things. I'm looking at the description right now. It's also to match his cloak, because he did buy Tanguish a cloak, and he did get Tanguish an official, like, Coliseum pin to show who he was affiliated with. Like, he's gotten stuff.
Helsknight's a bit of a gift giver. We'll say that.
Yeah, Helsknight's a gift giver. The gloves are, like, enchanted with unbreaking and fire protection, and, like, so they're, like, very, very...
And like, for the record, enchanting in Hells is freaking impossible because they don't have lapis. Like, to get something enchanted at all is literally insane. And he's like, I'm just gonna do like this double duty insane level of protection for gloves for my friend who like doesn't even get in fights.
Chekhov's gunning, really quickly. In this chapter where he gets the gloves is where Tanguish comments on the decor of the area, specifically the diamond shape that the craftsman had at the back of their stall.
There's a moment where he's like, that diamond, oh, that means a thief's mark is here. It talks about this way of like thieves would mark their target. And he looks at Helsknight and is like, what, is there a thief here? Like, what's going on? Shouldn't the knights and the guards be taking care of this? And Helsknight's like, or it could be that this is a jewelry stall and that's a diamond and it's pretty. And Tanguish is like, oh, okay. Put the Chekhov gun back on the shelf.
Put that gun back on the shelf. Yeah, so they do that. Then he goes to Tango, and he's like, resource gathering time. Which also, this is a good section of world building. Like, they're like, hey, have you ever used a pickaxe? Like an axe or a shovel? And then, like, Wells like, well, they have stone and wood in the nether. I'm reading this kind of play-by-play. Yeah, and Tanguish is like, and where would I find these materials? I didn't even have a house until Hels took me in.
It's not just where would you find it, it's like, where would you store it? Like, you have that, but you have no place to put it. And, like, the absolute moment of, like, disconnect that the hermits have, like, Tango and Wells, who are builders. Their whole thing is that they build and they create, and they're put in a world with nothing, and they build giant buildings. And the idea of anyone being homeless is just unfathomable to them.
One of the fun things about this is that, like, we, the readers, are coming from kind of the perspective of the hermits, where we don't know what happens in Hels. But so we learn things before the hermits do, and so we know what they don't know. Because the hermits, they don't know that death is permanent in Hels, or that it can be permanent in Hels.
Mm-hmm. And that, like, reframes so many of, like, Helsknight's fights with, like, yeah, he's fighting Helsknight, and yeah, he's fighting Tanguish, and he's arguing a lot, and he's drawing his sword a lot. It's because, in Wells' perspective, people don't die. Like, they do, but they respawn, they come back, and that's how every fight has been with Helsknight. Is like, they fight, Helsknight dies, or Welsknight dies, and then they come back together, and they fight again. Like, this is, like, eternal for them. And they're like, to the Helsknights, they have a limit. They don't know what that limit is, but one day they will run out of respawns, and
yeah, they feel when they're approaching it, and they know what's coming.
And it's just like they never tell the hermits, like, not up until the current point in the fanfiction, but it is implied. It's like Welsknight is starting to catch on, like, you're afraid of respawning, and Tanguish is like, no, we're afraid of death.
It's just such an interesting thing to play with. Because, like, as you said, it adds so much more to, like, certain scenes. Like, there is a difference between, like, telling someone to beg for their life and knowing that they will respond, and the person who is begging for their life knowing that anytime they respawn, it could be their last. That's also a reason why Welsknight looks like a giant jerk in this. It's like if you threatened everybody with Nerf guns your whole life, and then all of a sudden there's people who will actually die if I use on them, and you're like, oh, well.
That changes some things. Can we talk
so now we are...
Now we're finally at the mine. Only 30 minutes later, we're at the mining scene. But yeah, okay, so they go into the mines. Like, Tanguish is like, he fights his first zombie. He gets his first diamond. It's this big accomplishment. And then eventually they end up in this, like, room in the mines. Like, you know, when you're, like, in Minecraft and you enter out into this big cathedral-like space that's just a giant hole.
Cathedral cave.
It's so pretty. In this moment, Tanguish is like, I can see. And it's like, oh, this place has really good vocals. And they start doing echo, echo, echo. And it's like, this also is a really pretty moment where Welsknight starts to sing because it sounds super heckin' good in here. But they realize, like...
It's not a song pick, but this makes it worth it.
I know. As the echo comes back, Tanguish can see. It's very much like echolocation. Like, he's getting
got the skulk light.
The skulk, like, it lights up as the vibrations, as the air travels through it. And so when Welsknight starts to sing, Tanguish can see the entire cavern, and he starts to see beyond it, and we have this very beautiful moment of this feeling of everything around you before it dips into overstimulation and it kind of wrecks him.
There's more to that.
Oh, there's so much more. There's so much more.
Okay. The thing that's more to that is, as they're singing, as Tanguish, like, closes his eyes and looks up, Tango and Wells, they I don't know if they're like sensing it or physically seeing it, but the Skulk echoes, they're witnessing whatever the hell Tanguish is witnessing.
Like this isn't only for Tanguish. Like he's starting to pass on himself to others. Like again, we're getting that Skulk is spreading and people are being affected.
Yeah, I'm in that section of the thing right now. I can look at the descriptions. Tanguish like tilts his head back. His eyes are closed. He doesn't see. Tango's fire turns blue and his redstone freckles flick to teal. Helsknight's eyes are haloed in soulfire blue and Cat's Eye yellow. So Tango sees a world alight in colors he'd never imagined were real. The highs and lows of the melody, like in the cavern. I am paraphrasing very heavily. His eyes fly open and every color in the world vanishes. And so when he closes his eyes again and listens, he laughed and the colorful world danced back at him. And then Helsknight sees Tango's laughter as galaxies pinwheeling through darkness. And like he felt at any moment he could fall off the side. And it's just this like feeling awe of the music, like having always spoken to him, and now he can see it.
Yes, so the visuals, the description of the world and how it's like it is actively a part of the story and not bogging down of like, yes, let me just describe this cave to you. Like the way it works into everything. This takes it out of Tanguish. Like he feels the weight of what just happened, even if he like doesn't visually see it. Like he knows like he's tired now and he's overstimulated and like itches at his skin. And they're like, okay, we'll stop and we'll set up camp here so we can have a little meal.
He describes his feeling like sand blasted after this. Like he's very overstimulated. He's just had enough.
So they set up camp and then Tango dips away for a little bit to make sure it's like, hey, we had to swim through water on the way here. That kind of sucked. I'm going to like make a path for us to get back, right? And so Helsknight and Tanguish are alone.
There's a bit of like trigger warnings in this area, I feel.
Yeah.
Because of what happens here. So we'll like glaze over the parts. Okay, so what is happening is Helsknight is asking questions and Tanguish, he's not feeling great about answering these questions, and his like solution is to scratch at the leather of his gloves. But at a certain point, the questions are things that he really doesn't want to talk about so much that he's tearing his gloves off and scratching at his skin instead. So Helsknight uses his night voice, and it says like, Tanguish, tell me why the demon has you so scared, or stop talking about this and put your gloves back on. But it is described as not a command, but just like something gentler, like something Helsknight would have used.
He chooses to keep the gloves off, which says something about where he is at that point in time.
And then he kind of, once this scene is over, he kind of like looks down at his hands and he's
health potion, please. This ain't good. Please. This is like the first, like, I don't want to say soft moment with Helsknight, but like the first moment where, oh, this is a full character. This is someone who is more than just the quote unquote bad guy to these Hell's myths.
Yeah, because what happens here is that he doesn't give him a potion, he shows him like a more natural healing method that he would have access to in Hells. I believe it's just like honey. Like he uses something like that.
Hand wounds get infected very easily, especially if you climb, if you're using your hands a lot. And so Wells is like, you use honey, you're going to have access to that. We have established honeys around. Use that to protect your hands and it will heal. It will prevent a lot of scarring. And most importantly, it will prevent it getting infected.
We've entered the next chapter. That was all chapter 53.
Woo.
52 and 53. It is 300,000 words and 64 chapters.
And currently updating. It updated last 10 days ago.
Oh, Enderman. We're at the Enderman.
Oh, the Enderman moment. So they're in a cave, and the way Endermen are described, Tanguish does not really know Endermen, like they aren't a thing in the Hell's City. When he starts being attacked by an Enderman, like, and Tango is involved, he's like, I'll just shoot a bow at it, and like Helsknight's like, but it's too late.
You idiot, you can't shoot a bow at an Enderman.
It's too late, yeah. And Tanguish ends up getting hit by the Enderman, and the Enderman's described as like huge claws and like very dangerous, and you don't want to be scratched by. He ends up like getting severely injured by this thing.
The Chekhov's gun fires again, and it does go, I think it just narrowly misses that area under his ribs.
Yeah.
Like, it gets him. It gets him good.
Mm-hmm. And like immediately, like, everyone starts freaking out. Like, even Helsknight is worried about Tanguish in this moment.
You wouldn't know this because you don't have colored text. Tanguish is not having a good time, and the next chapter is very much that, like, spaced out parentheses, character fading in and out of consciousness style of writing. One of these lines is the extra gargoyle on the roof, which gargoyle is highlighted in blue. It is highlighted in blue.
Blue.
It's also described as slipping, falling from the roof. One thing we didn't mention is that when the memory priest was in the place where they were getting the book with the thing with all the stuff back then, the priest did have advice that it gave to Helsknight and Tanguish, and the advice that it gave to Tanguish was something along the lines of, the fall is, but you're gonna love the view.
He has fallen off of roofs before. Like, that's how he was respawning before he ran into Helsknight and started hanging out with fighters. Sometimes his climbs don't end well, but it was always worth it because of the way that the city looked from the top of the spires.
Yeah, but it also is very much a metaphor of, like, hey, you are currently, like, developing a bond, the likes of which appears to be, like, a little bit universe shaking. That's a big fall, but the view down to it is incredible.
Mm-hmm. And when he had that moment in the earlier chapters where he was interacting with the Paladin of Memory, hey, when divinity calls, this time you have to answer it.
That was towards Helsknight.
Yeah, that was towards Helsknight, but he was there.
So those were the two pieces of advice we're given, is when divinity calls, answer, and the fall, the view from the fall.
Yeah. Tango tries to shoot the Enderman, goes badly, Tanguish gets hit, and even Helsknight is like trying to save him because he's like, oh no, we just had that moment where we were trying to stop this from happening. And clearly
they offer to mercy kill him, and Tanguish is like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, and it's like, this is the moment where Helsknight really starts to figure out, it's like, oh, this is more than just a casual fear of dying. Like, this is something much more extreme that he is completely out of his league to understand. He stays in Hermitcraft during this, right? He doesn't go back to Hellsmith.
Yeah, no, he wakes up on Wells's couch.
Yeah. Wells ends up, like, taking him home when he knows that, like, the other hermits cannot see Tanguish. They cannot know about how there is an active Hellsman on their server. Because the only connection the rest of the Hermitcraft really has to Hells is Helsknight and Evil X, and both of those do not end well for anyone.
He gets up, he's mostly fine. We switch back to the land of Hells. Helsknight collapses in the sand. He wasn't training, he was answering questions, like, to help people, and he just goes. He's down, he's out. He does, like, get back up immediately, but the fact is he's fainted in public, and people have heard that he doesn't know how many reasons, and he's in this fight that everybody knows is rigged, but they can't quite say it. And now he's just fainted.
Yeah. And Evil Bizuma immediately goes into, have you eaten? Have you had any water? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you sleeping? And it's like, that's in the moment what it's passed off as. You're just stressed about the fight. Go get some food and water. Go to the cafeteria area. Already people are starting to talk about it. And one of the knights starts picking fights with Helsknight because it's, you know, the personality is in a coliseum. And earlier there was someone who was already trying to do that. And he's back. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, another armory.
Yeah, another armory, another thing in the Chekhov's gun. It's Zornoth who's picking a fight. And the way he picks a fight is being like, hey, is the reason you fainted that the universe is whispering to you?
And the immediate call of like, oh, because you know what that feels like, of direct the attention away from what just happened to Helsknight and start putting it onto someone who, even if everyone knows you're just fighting, directs the attention away so people don't realize. It's very important, literal champion, face of Hell City, the thing that people gather around as their joy of entertainment is dying. It's like, let's not look at that right now.
Yeah, because the thing is, they're getting snippy, they're getting ready, and that's when we have Evie being like, hey, not in my Coliseum. Oh, knock it off.
Knock it. EB takes the fact that people fighting in his Coliseum have to be protected. Like, you enter into his doors. The author was talking about, yeah, if EB was a god, he'd be the god of hospitality. Directly compared it to the Viking idea of hospitality. If you enter into the home, you ask for hospitality, you will be given it to the extreme that can be provided.
And this is when Helsknight has a panic attack. Smiley face. They have there's like the whole fight, he's like, not in my Coliseum, and then EB is like, hey, do you want to know what it feels like when the universe is calling you? Because I know what that feels like. Tell you. and he's like, hey, just no, I'm just gonna go to my room. Hels heads out. He heads to his room. He kind of freaks out in his room a bit, punches. I think, what does he punch?
He punches his door and it almost breaks his
door.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's iron and like a crimson stem, so it's not great. And then you just see Helsknight in a reflection going, that was mature.
Is Helsknight in the reflection, or does he enter into...
Yeah, so he's like, hey, I'm having a panic attack. And Wells is like, you get panic attacks? And he's like, yes, and I've been having one all afternoon. Actually, no, so Wells is actually physically in the room.
Yeah, okay, Wells enters into Hels, which again establishes that this pathway does go both ways. However, there is a moment where Helsknight is talking to Wells, and it's like, if you ever decide to take your crusade, your hatred against Hels, into the actual city, it would be a massacre.
You will win.
Yeah, you will win. And of
you
course,
will win.
Helsknight doesn't know what exactly that means, because again, he doesn't know that these people don't always respawn. But it's just this idea of this is a threat. He can do this whenever he wants. And the fact that Helsknight is there of like this idea of like, I have to keep him in check or else he will do this, it puts so much more pressure on this idea of the champion of Hells.
All right, I got more blue text for you.
Beautiful.
I have more blue text for you.
Mm-hmm.
Helsknight's like, hey, if you're here for a fight, now is not a good time. He turns and he looks at Wells, and he sees that there's blood on Wells, and a soulfire tear comes down his cheek, and he just goes for him. He's like, what have you done? Wells is like, I didn't do anything. And Hells is like, I can guilt. Wells is like, he's fine.
Oh, and this is the moment where we bring off one of the Chekhov gun has to fire for a moment earlier. Do you want me to explain the scene? Because I know the scene. I know the scene.
You explain the scene, and I'll fill in any details you skip over, because there is blue text that you don't have. Okay.
They're fighting. Immediately, Helsknight freaks out, because the moment he realizes Helsknight is injured, or Helsknight has blood on him, Helsknight is like, that's Tanguish's blood. And he freaks out, and he starts like with the blue tears and the crying and the fire and the oh no, and he starts reciting things that have happened. This is the moment where he starts realizing it's, you pinned Tanguish against a tree. You made him beg for his life. And it's this moment where he's starting, Helsknight at first is like, oh, Tanguish told you. I told him not to tell you. And Helsknight is like, I can see it. And he's actively living Through Helsknight's memory. Yeah. And Helsknight has this moment of, you're possessed. How did you get possessed? What is going on?
I gotta jump in.
I
gotta jump in right here. So it's, you're possessed. How in hell did you get possessed? And Helsknight says, I'm not possessed. I'm someone else's wrath. And that wrath is blue. That wrath is blue. The following brackets are blue. So Helsknight says that I'll beg for their forgiveness. Just give me their name. As soon as we're done with them, see them. You can escort me there. The rest of Helsknight's dialogue here is blue. Tanguish is what he says. Helsknight says, right. Helsknight says, on your knees, begging. Helsknight says, yes. Helsknight says, or I will make sure you die screaming. Helsknight says, I wouldn't have it any other way. The blue text says a lie. The white text says sarcasm. And it says, Helsknight was allowed sarcasm. And Helsknight sheathes his dagger.
It's 10 p.m.
I need to bite my phone.
I can't scream. It's 10 p.m. I can't scream, but know that I am screaming.
I have my door closing.
Our walls are thin. That does not matter here.
Yeah. Oh my god. That was the blue. That was the kid's card.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, so
okay. Anyway,
Helsknight goes to Hermitcraft, picks up Tanguish, go home. Just go home.
No, he does not pick up. He does not pick up Tanguish. Go home.
Pick up Tanguish. Go home.
Pick up Tanguish. Go home. No, he does not pick up Tanguish. Go home. He does not pick up Tanguish. Go home. He sees Tanguish. He's like, that's a lot of blood. He was almost dead. He was almost gone. And he's like, kind of freaking out. He's like, hey, how close was it? And Wells uses his night voice to be like, hey, Helsknight, he's fine. And Hels is like, he needs to be checked for shock. And Wells is like, that's what you're supposed to do right now. Oh, there's a line here that I love, which is Helsknight saying, you didn't make me to be gentle, to have compassion. I had to teach myself. But the way that, because like, Tanguish is completely unresponsive at this point. And so Helsknight, like, just, like, kind of leans down next to him, sees the new scars that are on his chest, and just says, hey, if you wanted cool scars, you could have just asked. The Colosseum is always accepting new names. And Tanguish just laughs and goes, no. And Helsknight just kind of has this, like, joking banter of, like, once you prove yourself there, you can fight me in the Challenger ring. Just starts starts joking in a way that's like feels really rewarding and like really, really good.
Really, really good. And
I
is
refuse to let
this
you skip over that by saying they go home.
and then they go home. In my heart,
No, they don't go home.
They go home. No, they actually stay there for quite a while. And this is also
They
the
got,
moment
there's
where,
more.
yeah, they start talking about the scars that Helsknight has, and the way he starts. This is the scene that I mentioned earlier, where it's like he's describing this old fight that he had, where he and his opponent went down together, but he was able to crawl himself out of the arena and stand up at the last moment. And then he described being carted off to the Coliseum surgeon, and he describes having the spear tip that was embedded into him being pulled out, and how he was begging for someone to do anything for him because the surgeon was delayed. And like
and how really this is where he met Ren.
This was the Red King's first introduction to the champion, was the champion begging for a mercy kill.
So Red puts a hand on Helsknight's chest and tells him to breathe, and that is what Helsknight has been doing to Tanguish the entire time. Another Chekhov's gun enters the arbor. It's so good. This author's grasp on hurt comfort is killing me in the best way.
But this also it ties into this greater thing of like, one, the Hellsmiths have to learn to be their own person. It's this idea of forming an identity around a self, and two, the fact that, again, hermits don't understand the fear of death. Any other hermit would have been, yeah, of course you mercy kill him. That's what you do in that situation. The person will respawn without their injuries and things will be fine. But in this situation, it's like, Helsknight might have not made it through that situation if someone mercy killed him. And they were close to doing that too, because the surgeon got delayed. No one could do anything, and Helsknight was actively dying in front of them, suffering.
Yeah, and in the following scene, we have Helsknight keeping vigil over Tanguish as he sleeps in this house. And, like, we have a little bit more heart-to-hearts. By the way, Tango calls Helsknight Killer, and that is the funniest nickname to me. I love that so much. It's such a little detail that just, it's so good.
It seems so playful, too. It's just the idea of, like, he doesn't view Helsknight the same way Welsknight does, because he views Tanguish in such a sense of familiarity. It's like, oh, if you're friends with Tanguish, then yeah. We're cool.
Yeah,
we're cool.
We're buds. We're having some nice conversation.
It's also worth noting they're trans. Everyone has top surgery scars.
Oh,
it's all gay.
Yes. It's all gay. It's all trans. There is just straight up a scene where it's just like, oh, those scars look familiar. I have those too. Oh wait, what are your pronouns? It's a couple. It's. I want to say it's in like chapter 10 or something. It's like late enough where it's a little, but like early enough where you're like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
There is a fun scene in this area, I think. It's like Tanguish kind of making a joke, but it really highlights the difference between the relationships here. Tango going, I know if Tanguish jumped in front of Hels, he would stop in a heartbeat. I'm not 100% sure if Wells would stop for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. This is the scene where it's like, hey, if you went on a crusade against Hels, you would win.
Yeah, because again, like we just got like this idea. Welsknight can enter Hels, but he does not know the consequences of that.
They're not even aware. They're never aware of the Remembrance Wall. They even mention that Zedaf doesn't have a Hellsmith. And
yeah, like not anymore.
Like, yeah, not anymore. I just want to reread this whole thing again. I gotta stop myself from just picking a paragraph and going, it's so good!
Listen, we've been doing this for 2 hours. We have to wrap this up. We only have a few more chapters to get through.
Okay.
And eventually they scoop him up and go home, and they have a cute moment.
They don't scoop him up and go home!
Everything's fine.
They don't scoop him up and go home!
And then he wins
There's
the
no
fight.
Happiness!
No. There's a happy ending.
And they push a big red button that fixes everything, and they go home and they have croissants. Okay, this is when like Welsknight's like, hey, ever since like you've come on Hermitcraft, Tanguish, I've been unfair, and I do want to apologize, and also apologize for something else, and I want to apologize for a third thing. And
Tanguish immediately he's like,
goes, I'm sorry he threatened you.
Yeah.
But I don't want an apology given out of fear. It's not going to change anything. Let's just all agree to not kill each other and move.
Yeah, mutual non-unaliving. Great, love that for us.
this is the what am I doing to you? That's where this is. It's the what am I doing to you? I don't know. And Tanguish being like, is this something I have to be scared of now? They'll be bitter about something, you just feel compelled to kill for it. Like, it is very much, they are aware that this is changing them, and that this is not a normal friendship. Like, there's a normal friendship, and then those crying blue, like, recording memories from other places and summoning each other across the multi. I wish I could do that with my friends. That'd be cool.
Okay, I'm stressed out. Come hang out with me this exact second. Yeah. And the way
I would do that.
The way it's described, them calling each other, specifically Tanguish calling Helsknight, it's like there's a string connecting them, and like when it's pulled taut, that's when like Tanguish is holding tight and he needs Helsknight there by his side, and that's not always a good thing.
Oh, okay. Hang on, I'm looking because there's I want to get to the scene. I want to get to the scene with that second paladin scene. Crushed me. I was on the floor.
Which scene is that?
It is the, like, why didn't you call your knight?
Oh, right. Okay, so that's after they leave Hermitcraft and they go back to the Hell City. It's like, you, Helsknight, need to go continue practicing at the Coliseum. You have to go deal with stuff there. And Tanguish starts going around the city again. Specifically,
yeah, so
this is where he wants to go get the jewelry that he got all those diamonds for.
Yeah. He goes to the jeweler, and it's another stand with that, like, diamond insignia on it. At first, the guy is so suspicious, and like, so like, I need like 100% up front, da. And Tanguish kind of feels like I'm a person, like I'm not a thing. And the shop guy flips around real quick, and he's like, you know what? I can get this done in 3 hours. You needed 2 necklaces.
Yes.
I can do that.
Well, someone comes and points out that Tanguish has the Coliseum pin on him. Like, they point out, it's like, that guy is working with Helsknight. Like, that guy is good for his word if he's saying, like, he can come back later.
Yeah, and the shopkeeper just, like, is completely 180. Like, I'll go ahead and do whatever. Please.
Yeah.
Oh, come back in a couple hours. Tanguish goes back to the Church of Remembrance and...
Well, no, it's important to point out right now that Tanguish doesn't have all the money up front. He's like 20 diamonds short, and diamonds are very hard to come by in Hells. Very few people use them as currency outside of the market.
That's why he went mining.
Yeah.
That's why he went mining.
But, like, he still came to that jeweler and then was told, you don't have enough diamonds. And so Tanguish was like, oh, do I have to go steal? I can't go back to Helsknight. And so he just kind of ends up kind of weirdly wandering around. Like, he pokes a little bit at people and gets a few things, but he then ends up going to the Church of Remembrance.
Yeah, he goes to the church, and he does feel terrible about stealing at the moment. He's, like, feeling like a parasite. Mainly just because he's like, stealing is bad, but Helsknight's life is on the line if I can't get the person who wrote this book to accept the jewelry and help train Helsknight. He's starting to feel a bit of a why is he so afraid for Helsknight? He's starting to feel a lack of faith, and can feel the cord in him, like, fraying, and he's like, no, I have faith in him. Like, he's still my knight. Like, the second he says he's still my knight to himself, but it says he's praying it desperately. The second he prays that to himself, the braided faith fixes itself in his chest, according to the narration. So, like, there's something happening to them. One of the things that they use, one of the metaphors they use here is like, hey, Helsknight is in the middle of a fight, and he doesn't look down at a wound. He doesn't know how bad it is until he looks down at it. And he's pretty much just been asking Tanguish this whole time, don't look down at the wound. If you tell me it isn't a bad wound, I will believe you. Just
whatever's going on, just don't acknowledge it, and it'll be fine.
The priestess at the Church of Remembrance is like, hey, you're the gargoyle. You probably don't remember me, but I left water out on the roofs for you. And he did not remember her. Was still like, hey, thank you. That was, like, super nice. Yeah, they do have, that's where they have EB's. EB has preemptively left a bee in the Church of Remembrance for when he is forgotten. And so there's like, hey, stay with us for a while. And then Flipside is here. He's like, Tanguish! Gargoyle! You're here!
The Flipside has actually gotten a specific mission from the paladin saying, hey, go find, what was it, like the guiding star in the courtyard. And Tanguish's cloak that Helsknight had given him was embroidered with, like, very fancy stars. And Flipside sees this and goes, oh, it's you have to come with me. But then he's like, I actually don't know where the paladin wandered off to. Let me go find her.
And then, so he goes to wander off to find the paladin, And from the fricking rafters comes down the demon.
Do it, because the demon is holds a grudge against thieves. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, because specifically what it was not bring the lady to Tanguish, it was bring Tanguish to the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady is the official title. We have not been saying that.
And the demon attacks and things go very, very badly, and then it's sad forever.
Yeah, no, there's a pun that's like, I am surprised. I fully expected you to give into the impulse, which is because the demon left a wallet of diamonds on one of the church pews.
Yeah, he wanted Tanguish to steal because it's implied that he knows Tanguish is actively stealing that day. And so he's like, oh, I'll tempt you and I'll catch you in the act. And Tanguish, like, he almost does it. Like, he feels the itch to steal. And he's like, no, I can't do it. I'm in a church. That would be wrong. And then the demon attacks anyways.
Yeah, you're like, hey, just don't do that. We're in a church. Yeah, you described the fight scene. I'm trying to find the dialogue.
So they fight. Well, not really, because, like, Tanguish, not a fighter. And basically the demon gets him pinned pretty freaking quick. There's no way Tanguish is going to get out of this. And then, lo and behold, Flipside comes screeching out. It's like, oh, I can't find her, or whatever. He's like, then he sees the demon, and he's like, I'm going to fight you. I'm gonna do it. And I'm
gonna defend my friends.
I'm gonna try my best. Again, Flipside is functionally a
squire. It's a knight in training.
Like he doesn't have all the training. He's implied, or like I think it's said at one point, that he goes through drills, but in the way where it's like someone shows you a form and then you copy the form. There is no active.
It's not even that someone showing him the form. It is he has books of form and he's copying the forms.
Yeah.
And he was like honored when Helsknight's like, hey, do you want me to like show you some forms physically?
Yeah, and it's so like he's trying to learn these things without ever getting physical practice, and now he's suddenly thrown into a battle situation against the frickin' demon, and things don't go well for him. He gets injured, but he manages to delay it long enough for the paladin, the blue lady, to step in and stop it.
Not only does the blue lady come in, the statues of the angelic statues start crying ink in the room, and Flipside prays to the lady, and in comes the lady.
And again, so earlier I described the paladin as someone who was injured by working through divinity, and like her legs were functionally like destroyed. She can't ever walk without aids again. And then she comes into the scene walking, but Tanguish specifically calls out he can hear her bones click together in a way that is not natural, but she is walking because right now that's not the paladin in front of him. That is the channel through divinity. And
the blue lady is like, hey, you're going to deal with just bad memories. Just stop it. And uses the power of memory to get him to knock it off.
Yeah, because like the Church of Memory, like, it's not a fighting group. Like, it's not described in the way that the Church of Blood and Steel is. Like, they know how to use a sword, but again, through books. And so the blue lady isn't there to fight him. The best that she can do is trap the demon in his worst memory and apply it to this moment. And so now, unfortunately, whenever the demon's going to think of that memory, he's going to think of Tanguish as well. But that's just going to be a problem they have to deal with down the road.
Yeah, and the blue lady does refer to Tanguish as Gargoyle. So Gargoyle is his like title.
He's been given the title.
What we really do to see like the blue lady's power is that she like traps the demon in his worst memory and then goes to Flipside, who is like injured, and puts him in a nice memory so he's calm as they're able to start healing to him.
Earlier that day, it's implied that, the blue lady was informed of something bad going to happen, so she sent her knights to go get something that would result in them coming back with healing potions, just in time for healing to be administered. It switches
to the paladin talking, not the blue lady as in the god, but the human who held the body, and talking about like how she was injured and her legs were shattered. And how the god couldn't understand why she was in pain, and it is the closest that she has ever come to losing faith. So he's like, hey, can I leave? Are you going to hurt me? And Lady goes, I don't intend to. And he's like, will memory hurt me? Mm-hmm. And Lady's like, all memories have teeth. And so he's like, what memory do you need from me? and she just tells him to recite his morning to
His morning, yeah. Because earlier it said that he was like walking around the city, climbing through the city, and he sees something that was like people had put names on the wall, but it wasn't an official memory wall. Yeah, so he ends up reciting his day until he gets to the moment where he sees them, and then he feels like the active memory latching onto those things, and it's like forcing itself out of him.
Yeah, he recites every single name on that wall, even though he never read them. He realized that he was crying ink. So the divinity leaves the lady, and we're left with the paladin. Says like, "Hey, wait, Gargoyle, your champion. Where is he?" And like, "Hey, your champion. Why didn't you call him when the demon struck? You needed him. Isn't he yours?" I'm reading her dialogue, skipping over. "Isn't he yours? I thought he was yours. Why didn't you aid? Has he done something wrong? Has he fallen out of your? Surely he hasn't lost faith. He can't have. Wouldn't have. Was it my fault, Gargoyle? Did you sense me coming? Surely you know I only intervened because of the memory. If it hadn't been for that, if memory hadn't demanded I speak to you, I couldn't have stopped the demon. I would have been useless, Gargoyle. Why didn't you call him? He's your champion. You must call him. He would be devastated to know he's been forgotten by you." And she's connecting Tanguish and not calling for Helsknight's help to her and her, like, feeling abandoned by her god. And it's like, okay, you've put Tanguish in the slot of the divine.
Now, okay, I want to say
something. It's not a question of when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. The question is how.
Yeah. So, again, up until this point, I had not been seeing any colored text. I think it's because when I read fanfiction at night, I put my phone on dark mode and it kind of just switches everything to black and white. So maybe that's what the issue on my end. I don't know. But like, I have not been seeing the blue text. So I haven't been getting this breadcrumb trail that we have been leading up to. Because in this moment, I realized this was my first lock-in realization moment of, oh, Tanguish is being risen above. He is ascending in some way, shape, or form. Like, I don't know exactly how it works in this world, how to become a saint, but it is described that saints are humans that have reached the divine.
Yeah, the question is not, is Tanguish going to become a saint? The question is when, and the question is how. Because he's going to.
Yeah, like, I feel like Helsknight is already his paladin, even though Tanguish has yet to ascend. Like, that has been locked in. Okay, we're going to switch back to the Colosseum.
Yeah, Helsknight.
Yeah.
Back to Helsknight.
Back to Helsknight. He and EB are hanging out, Evil Bizuma.
And it's like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, you're a little twitchy. Have you been like taking something?" He's like, "I don't take things.
Yeah,
it's against the Saint of Blood and Steel."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not a priest."
For the record, they're currently in like an official meeting talking to the people who are like running the Colosseum. Like, this is business meeting time, and for some reason Helsknight just randomly starts freaking out. He starts seeing things, he starts hearing things, he like randomly stands up and grabs his sword, and everyone's like, what is going on? And he has to excuse himself to go to the balcony to separate himself, and the only person they are like willing to send in is EB. And immediately once someone enters into Helsknight's bubble, he like goes for the attack, and EB was like the only person they could have sent who would have survived that.
Yeah, because there's also what is happening. You skipped over a little bit. That's kind of important. They're having this chat, and it's kind of like scratching at his gauntlet. EB's like, "Take your gauntlets off.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see your arms. Prove it." And so he takes off his gauntlets. So he has
blue marks.
He's got little blue marks. Blue freckling its way up his. And he's like, "Wrong color for bruises. Like, is it a rash? Rashes turn red. They'll turn blue if it's blood.
It's not the right thing for blood." And then there's this moment of like, so you and Tanguish, you're not like, are you?
Yeah, because it's
doing anything
blue under the dark. Like, are you? Has this been trend? Have you guys been sharing? Has this been maybe it's like, maybe
are you protected when you're hanging out? And Helsknight's immediately like, no, it's not that. I don't know what this is. And then he gets they start freaking out a little bit together, and they get pushed into this small closet-like space. It's a very small area where a bunch of the fighters have put little shrines to their gods to come and worship when they're in between things. And it's like this very small space of like, EB put him there because he knows that this is the one place Helsknight cannot lash out of fear of damaging something sacred to someone else.
So he's at the sacrificial bowl because the way that you pray to the Saint of Blood and Steel is blood or steel, and he had one of those.
You have one on you. What are you going to do?
So we have this paragraph break, and we have, there he is in blue text, white text. A voice rumbled in the throbbing growl, and Helsknight. Back to blue text. Right on time. I don't think this is a good idea. How could it possibly be a bad idea? And then Helsknight just has a sense of impending doom. And then we have more blue split apart by paragraphs. Aren't you lot lucky? He's all alone. Your job is easy. This doesn't feel right. I agree. Why would he be in the same square? Why would he be in the square alone now when normally he's got a knight on? You bunch of cowards. He doesn't even know we. How in hells could he set a trap? So Evie is like grabbing Helsknight's face and turning it towards him and being like, hey, what is going on? And then we're going back to blue text. We have more paragraph splits. I'm not a coward. Prove it then. There he goes. Get him. I still don't feel right about this. If you're so scared of getting your hands all dirty, then block the alley. And then we have Helsknight starting to see things. And then we have, there's the thief. And then we have Hell's going a little weird.
And then that's where the chapter ends. And then I freak
the call
out for
came
a
again,
week.
and Helsknight answered.
Yeah,
the call came again, and Helsknight answered. So, when divinity comes calling, don't ignore it. I think we found our divinity.
We found it.
I love it.
So anyways, we're flipping back to Tanguish's POV. He's there. He's finally has the diamonds. He got it through Tango. He got it through the Night of the Church of Remembrance. And so he's finally approaching. It's the end of the day. Start of the day. He went to go get the necklace, and now it's the end of the day, and he can finally go get the freaking necklace. And he's like, "Hey, sorry I'm late." And the shopkeeper is clearly weird, like something's wrong. Something's very wrong. He's trying to rush the interaction. He accepts the payment, but then he's like, I can deliver it to you. Come back later. Come back tomorrow. Let me do this. He's trying to get Tanguish away without him taking the necklace. And eventually he ends up kind of caving, and Tanguish gives him the payment and then takes the necklace, and he turns to leave. And he doesn't even make it out of the market square before someone comes before someone comes to stop him, calling him a thief.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, there's been some kind of mistake. I didn't do it. And so they're like coming after him. He's like, hey, you guys are Church of Blood and Steel. This is against your tenets. This is a lie. You guys can't do that. And he calls out for help.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go. Because the thing is, so we heard, okay, Chekhov's gunning all the way back when he was jumping Helsknight. The traditional punishment for a thief in Hell is to cut off their hands.
Yeah.
And the reason that Helsknight didn't do it in that very beginning is because he doesn't like hand wounds. So here, they're going to cut his hand off. And he's like, hey, listen, you guys are blood and steel. I know Helsknight. He'll vouch for me.
And they don't believe him.
Yeah. And so he's here, and so as this is happening, Tanguish is hearing in his head Helsknight's reassurances from when he was reassuring against Welsknight's Nightfall. And it's like the gods and saints, Tanguish, you're not alone. You're never alone. You don't want to be. I'm your knight. Remember? And Tanguish cries for his knight. And Helsknight appears, eyes bright and teal and yellow, and he's here. He's teleported in. Like the vibe that it gives off is like that one section in the Theseus in Epic the Musical where Athena comes in with Telemachus. That is the vibe that this scene gives off. It's like, hey, so Helsknight turns to the shopkeeper. Did Tanguish steal from you? And he's like, yes. And he's like, you're lying to me. Why? He's like, I'm not lying. Here's the thing. You know what happens when you cut off a thief's hand? They die. And that's bad. But he doesn't say that's bad, but that's effectively what it boils to. And so he's just threatening the and it's like, and so all the people who jumped him are like, hey, you stopped anything before it happens. We can just forget this, all right? It's just a misunderstanding. It's like, no.
What is the punishment for attempted murder? We could take this to Evil X's tower. We could have someone look this over. And they know me. And they'll be on my side.
Yeah, just full weight of the champion. like, all right, if you want to repent, just go leave some diamonds in the box at the first church. And the shopkeeper sets away, but like the thieves are like, hey, or like the guild who like jumped him are like, hey, are you kidding me right now? We're just gonna let him leave? Which, because one of the people in this group is one of the thieves that was attacking Tanguish and Martin. There's so many Chekhov's armory is Chekhov's armory. This is also where Helsknight learns that he saved Martin. That never came up in the dialogue.
They just never talked about it. It's like, yeah, it's another afternoon. You saved one of the best fighters in the Colosseum. Well, he was on a roof, so, you know.
Yeah, he was on a roof. You know, roof is my domain. Fighting is his domain. He was being jumped by like 5 guys.
Okay,
you know,
but no.
When we were jumped by 5 guys.
The new thieves, they call them the Thieves in Brown. Like, they're pissed off at Tanguish because Tanguish like referred to the Colosseum as his territory. You can't steal
from
over
half the city as his territory.
He claims so much, and like the thieves are like, you can't do this. You're not actively thieving right now. You can't claim this area under your like mark because you're not doing anything. And so they start going after him.
Like Helsknight's like, hey, I'm not gonna fight you guys. That wouldn't be a fair fight. And one of the thieves is like, just guys, do your frickin' jobs. Takes a crossbow and fires it at Tanguish's chest. And then we enter chapter 64.
Yeah, end of chapter. Chapter 64 came out 10 days ago.
He's talking about how, like, he had never been shot before. The thief aimed and fired. He felt the twang of the bowstring in the pit of his stomach like someone kicked him.
Because like, again, we're going back to Skulk feeling the vibration. Yeah. If you've never, like, felt a crossbow, that has oomph when it lets go.
He's like feel like he's here. We have it like this. This is like an area of really good description. We have the sound as it hits and like how he's going to hear it in his nightmares. We have him like staggering back like it's hit him, and he gasps because it's completely painless. And he sees that Helsknight has stuck his hand out and caught the bolt midair in his gauntlet.
Dude, so I'm now in the official Discord, and when this chapter released, the way people were screaming about it, because the first indication you get almost implies that the bolt goes through Helsknight hands, and people were freaking. It's like, no, then it's said that he catches it, which is way more insane, but the implications of what could have been still are like, oh no.
Yeah, because he's terrified of hand wounds, and he just caught an arrow. Because as it says in the thing, the only damage was a nick in the leather. He was completely fine.
It's
and he's got the soul fire tears, and his breath is fogging, and he's like, it's saying that like the cord in between them, it feels like it's speaking the words by my will or yours. And all Tanguish says is just try not to kill the thief.
Not even don't. It's just, you know, don't
try.
Just try. You know, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. The fight scenes are so good in this.
And then, dude, Helsknight, so when he moves forward to fight, he starts laughing. And he says it's something of like, by risk of the jaws of the universe with my blessing. Yeah, it's so good. It's eat the fanfiction.
We're entering the era where I start making noises like I'm eating the fic. That's how you know it's good.
It's 11 p.m. We're exhausted.
We're tired.
Fanfiction time.
We are in the same time zone, but we're
dying.
We're dying, but it's so good. We gotta keep talking.
So, like, keep in mind, this is a fight of Helsknight and Tanguish, someone who cannot super fight well, versus 5 knights, technically 3 knights and 2 squires,
and a thief,
and the thief in brown. Tanguish is like, can you take them? And Helsknight's like, 3 knights easily.
He's fighting. By the way, Helsknight does get shot.
Yeah, but again, it's like you don't see
it. He just says like,
it's not happening.
No. Yeah, because what he says is, I hate crossbows. Come on, before they stick another one in me.
He gets shot in the back.
He's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like his breath does have it has the wheeze in it. It's hit his lung and he's still fighting.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, he goes on, he fights, some of the knights run away, some of them don't, but then the thief in brown gets so mad, he starts continuing the fight. Afterwards, he gets in a position where the thief in brown is up on the roof with the crossbow, aiming it at Helsknight and Tanguish. They're injured, they can't do anything, and so they realize Tanguish can call Helsknight. Tanguish can do that now. And so Tanguish goes to climb. Helsknight can't climb. He's injured. Tanguish goes to meet the thief.
More blue text. More blue text. More blue text. So, like, what is happening is, like, hey, so, like, there's a bit of a long fight where the thief is, like, trying to get, and it's like, hey, I don't want to get you killed, and Helsknight's like, I won't die, and Tanguish is like, you can't promise that, you have an arrow in your back, and Helsknight's like, it doesn't hurt yet, but this task needs finished, and I'm willing to see it through. Will you let me? And it says, all right, and what he does is, he presses his forehead to Helsknight's chest, and in the parentheses we have, in blue text, don't die, don't die. Back to white, like he could force the command through the press of his straight into his chest, and then back to blue, don't die. And it is said the trickling of divinity billowed and flowed. It is divinity.
It's a the point. It's no longer foreshadowing. It's shadows.
It's shadowing.
But during it's very, I have to talk about this. During this fight, they're not fighting like two separate people. They are fighting as an entity. One. It is not Tanguish and his knight. It is whatever.
Tanguish and his knight, one word.
Tanguish is knight, one word, no spaces. It's whatever they are becoming. Whatever Tanguish becomes when he ascends, that is what they're embodying right now in this fight. They're moving as one. They're fighting as one against this thief in brown who has been stalking Tanguish for a long period of time.
By the way, in this, Helsknight does in fact stab the thief straight through the hand. And his sword, by the way, it has flame on it when he's, like, not in the Colosseum, because the Colosseum doesn't have a chance. And his flame, whenever he's doing stuff like this, starts glowing blue.
It's so pretty.
Blue. It's so pretty. Yeah, but he doesn't stab the thief. There's, like, two people. There's the Viper and there's the thief. He stabs the Viper through the hand. And he explains, like, hey, it'll heal with a healing potion. The bones and tendons are severed. It'll never move the same. It will never stop aching. It will never heal. It's like, and what he says is, if I ever see either diamond mark under the mantle of a thief again, I will take their other hand, and I will do the same to anyone who helped them. Am I understood? Like,
and then it's like, it starts moving into, like, the thief in brown going, like, respawn won't stop me. Yeah, we'll keep coming back.
No, that's after this.
Yeah, no, but then it starts moving into this, where it's like, the thief in brown, even after watching his friend Viper get injured to the point he's never going to be the same, the thief in brown keeps pushing. It's like, I'm going to keep coming back. And Helsknight's like, fine, I won't kill you. I'm just going to do something so much worse.
As the fight is winding down, the tears are slowing down, Helsknight's like, there was a squire from my church that was part of this. I left him behind. I've betrayed my saint. I've betrayed my church. And Tanguish is like, you didn't betray anyone.
Yeah.
Look at me. I need you. We need to get off the and it's like, your work isn't done yet.
Tanguish managed to climb the roof, summon Helsknight up there, but now they're stuck there. And keep in mind, Helsknight has a crossbow bolt in his back.
And there's still like marks and slashes all across him that are like, he's wounded, but like Tanguish, like, it's starting to come down. Helsknight is realizing, oh, in the hand, like, what have I done? What have I done? And Tanguish is going, don't think about it. You can't faint here. We're on a roof. Listen to me, my knight.
We're on a roof. We're gonna fall off the roof.
And then Helsknight faints. And then Helsknight faints.
And
we just not fall off the roof.
Well, they start to tumble. The chapter ends, literally the last thing we have of this fanfiction as of this moment. The chapter ends with Tanguish pulling them into Hermitcraft.
Yeah, because what it is because like the fall, like what did I say? The fall in the view. Like
the fall will kill them. They are too high up off the ground. Helsknight is injured with a bolt in his back. If he lands wrong, if he lands at all, he will die.
He grabs his copper coin and he travels into it and lands in the frigid vault. And that's all we have.
They land in Hermitcraft, and that's the.
I need more in my life. I need so much more of this fic. It's so good.
And then they have 70 million one-shot side stories that are only semi-canon, and one of them actually has Welsknight and Tango entering into Hells. But I feel like we're gonna come back to this. Okay. The more fan fiction is going to be posted, because we've been recording for far too long, and it's nighttime, and I've been yawning. But it's
okay. Yeah. Listen, just because we talked right at the start, the summary of this fic didn't really encapsulate what it was. Do you want to try your best at giving a short summary of what this fic truly represents now that we've gone through the entire plot and spoiled it for anybody who wanted to watch it or to read it?
I've done this before
You
when
get-
I recommended it on my like fanfictions to read playlist.
And when you recommended it to me personally.
This fan fiction is the ultimate embodiment of finding yourself and what you're willing to do for other people, to figure out who you are and where your loyalties lie, to know what defines you and what is the opposite of you, and to break free of that. And also Tanguish becomes a god.
And also Tanguish becomes a god. Yeah, it is very much, it is about devotion and change, and it is about that line between, like, loyalty and faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really plays with that, and it's such a masterclass in description and like in foreshadowing and check. Like
and
if I was
check-offiness.
If I was a literary teacher and I needed to teach someone about the concept of Chekhov, I would hand them this story and I would say, take notes as you,
like
because
as you see
is a
it.
masterclass. Yeah, take notes as you see it. Take notes as you read, because it is everything. Everything has every single detail that is in there.
And again, this started off as a collection of one-shots. This wasn't some, like, I pre-planned this masterwork and now I'm posting it bit
wasn't in the
bit.
first one-shot, and now he's a knight. Now he's the champion. Do we want to leave a little note to the author in the podcast? If they
what's our comment gonna be? Because I've already commented 70 million times.
If I could verbally deliver a message to the author of Redstone and Skulk, I would want to say, like, just how good this story is and how much it has affected me, even though, like, I've read it in a relatively short period of time. As I said earlier on, I'm planning on getting a tattoo. Like, I'm gonna permanently mark my body with this story. Like, it's so good.
I need to cosplay Tanguish so badly.
I need him in my life. I need a little plushie of him. I need, like, an acrylic charm to put on my phone case. I need to be able to, like, show somebody a clip of him in action and go, look at my son. It's so good. It is a story, as I said this, like, it is a story that inspires creation. It is something you look at and you realize it was made by one person, and if one person can do that, what can I? And that is the same like message that is shown in the story itself. If Tanguish can change all these people by just being himself and by making these choices, like, what can you do?
It's so good.
It's so good. I want to give the author a hug and, like, hand-baked bread.
And it's just like, you know, this story does, like, we joked it's like they file off the serial numbers, but, like, this story doesn't need to be transformed into some sort of book. But this author, this needs to, this skill is insane, and it needs to be shared to a wider audience. Like, I don't care if this is the thing published or not. I just need something from this person published, because the level of insanity that it's like, you don't understand. I have been analyzing writing works recently because I am trying to, like, start actually working on my own novel. And, like, I'm understanding the structure of stories and the craftsmanship of writing. And there's a lot of books that I've read recently that are so much worse than, like, anything I've been reading fan fictions that are better than this. And I turn to look at this and I'm like, this is it. This is the thing.
Like, I don't think it's too far to say that I could count this as the Passerine of the Hermitcraft fandom.
It's so good, and, like, people aren't talking about it because it's just like it's not something people are going to reach for. And I'm like,
yeah, because what happens is people, like, the summary is so focused around the one shot that it, like, misses all of what's happening. It is a story that you just need to give a chance.
It is so good, and I cannot wait for the next chapter to be published, and we'll be back here.
Yeah, the second it's up, we're just I'm going.
Freaking watch it be published while I'm editing this. No, we have.
If it is, put in a big sound effect right now. Put in like what should we put? Pew 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 pew.
Pew pew pew.
Pew pew pew. Put in, like, a bell ding or something.
Yeah,
like
the church's gongs or whatever it is. Yeah, but I
we didn't even talk about my favorite, like, described scene of the reflections in the church bell.
Listen, in the kindest way possible.
We don't have time.
We're not.
But just now I want to talk about this story.
Doing anymore. We'll be back. We'll be back.
We will. We'll be back.
We're not doing a Q&A because
You can't get rid of me. I just never left the.
You literally know you've stayed on our couch. Your response point is our couch.
my respawn is your couch.
All right.
I am the Tanguish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, the listeners, for.
And thank you for reading that fan fiction I sent you, because Andy wouldn't.
Oh, absolutely no issue. Because as I said, I was like, 5 chapters, and I looked down, I'm like, oh, chapter 20.
You're too far.
I was too far in. I couldn't go back. I was like sitting there. I was live blogging it to you as I was like actively like waiting for stuff. I was like pulling like my friends aside and be like, "Hey, sir, I understand you're reading. I'm busy." And I'm like, "I know you're busy, but you need to hear about a guy named Tanguish and his knight."
Isn't that the anguish with a T? Yes, it's important. Listen.
Yeah, it's important. Listen, because like I don't think that Tango canonically has a Hels.
He doesn't.
Like, this is a fan fiction about no sea. But it doesn't feel like an OC. You could put Tanguish and Hermitcraft tomorrow, and I go, yeah, he's always been there.
The only Hells that we have are Evil X, Helsknight, and then maybe the thing that came out of Beef's cloning machine, which was him with no skin. Which technically, it was mentioned Beef has a Hells, but we get 0 description. I'm really hoping it's skinless Beef, but everyone's always mad at me when I remind them of skinless Beef.
Debatably, Worm Man is also a Hell's individual.
No, because we know Zed's Hells was science focused and not superhero focused. But imagine,
but like as outside of Redstone and Skulk, like some people count Worm Man as a Hell's.
Imagine Evil X and Worm Man, and then Worm Man dies, and then we have a new Zed of Hells, and it's not Worm Man.
Oh my god.
I've written my own eggs. We have to leave. We have to leave.
Yeah, we gotta go. Listen, Super Sky, if you're watching this, I love you. Okay.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of FanDive. We'll be back again next Monday diving into yet another fandom. Have a topic or question for the podcast? Head over to our website, fandive.tumblr.com. There you can also find any episode relevant images and general shenanigans that we get up to. It is Tumblr, after all. We're not afraid of being fans of things.